Good morning. We are here early today, about an hour early. It's because I woke up early and now I've been awake for too long. So we've got to start early or I'm not gonna last very long. I'm sorry to everybody who's triggered by my singing. Thank you for staying through that. First and foremost, I just want to say we've been having some pretty intense conversations on stream the last couple of weeks, and today is no exception. Also, let me double check that there hasn't been an update to this. Let me see here. I'm waiting for an update. No, that's annoying. Okay. Yesterday we had a conversation that I think went pretty fucking well, but already, there's going to be people who have a lot of strong feelings and ideas, and everything we talk about on this channel will probably at some point make you feel or make you think like it's too much. Like you're too much of the woke friend, or this is going too far. Like, can we be serious? Or some variation of like, people are dying, Kim. But the thing is like, we really live in a fucked up world, but it's a fucked up world because of human beings. I mean, there is natural disasters, and I think we can all agree to that, but also. So the hope is that when I say something that makes you go like, no, it also makes you go, but and like the kombucha meme, like, no. I kind of want that to happen because a lot of these topics seem obvious, or like, I know what a bigot is. I know what a bad person is, but like, do you? And also, do any of us? And also like, let me show you these. I'm pulling up these TikToks to show you. Okay, okay. Oh. Hold on. Pause this. Okay, I think those are correct. So, you know how yesterday we talked about, and thank you, chat, for the hair compliments. Thank you. I was feeling pretty whimsical today. I got matching butterfly earrings inspired by Mia, of course. Matching hairbands, of course. I went to the store and everything today. I've been up so, like, my partner's phone alarm woke me up and I couldn't go back to bed. And now I've been up too much. I woke up at 8 a.m. and it's 3 p.m. So I'm going to be pretty sleepy, but I'm here. Oh my God. Okay, I'm not here. Hello. I'm here. I go to sleep late, so that was, okay. Yesterday, we had two conversations. We had one about your kids being weird. And one person did say like, oh, your definition of weird, I'm too lost. Like, I'll look forward to another video. Today's theme is about our limits on language and how we must use every part of our brain to have these serious discussions. Because I promise you, I am trying to use every part of my brain to think about the 8 billion nuanced stories on this planet, not to mention all the other non-human animal life that exists, not to mention the planet itself existing as its own organism when we're having these conversations. And sometimes I feel like your brains do this thing where you as the audience, in my audience maybe, or even just generally on the internet, like, you do not understand why some people end up becoming outliers in the conversation. And to some extent, it's because they have strong opinions, but it's also because they're having the conversation. Like, they're putting their name and their reputation to the conversation. And there's something about that even if within itself should be researched. Like, why do certain people put themselves out there? And why do they share their opinion so strongly, right? Especially if it's so silly. Like, we're gonna watch some Nick Fuentes today, and it's just like, this is so silly. But they do it because they really believe it. Even if they're grifters, there's some part of them that believes grifting is the only way to be. So this came up on my feed. I wasn't even looking for it. Look at this woman's perspective on, quote, helping your child be popular in school, right? It's interesting. Check it out. Tell me what you think.
I love the white moms who are getting on here and saying, yes, help your child be popular in school. There's nothing wrong with that. My mom helped me be popular in school. She would get my eyebrows started at the mall. She would take me to Ulta when I was around 11 or 10 and get me the play makeup kits. That's how my makeup is so good now, because I've been doing my makeup since I was around 9, 10, and all the moms at our private Christian school would bat their eyes and be angry at her, but I don't care. I would be playing with makeup. I've always loved makeup. My mom would come and volunteer at school and hand out snacks when we were playing soccer. You know, my mom paid for my Invisalign, but I never put it in. My mom would come and talk to me about things that were going on in school. She would always advocate for me, you know. She really tried. My mom would always buy me the newest trends, the newest iPhones, the newest backpacks, North Face, everything, so that I could mingle with others and talk about things that were going on. I know that sounds shallow, but we're children. We are shallow. We're going to follow the trends. We're not free spirits we don't know ourselves at that. We're finding ourselves out. But it's okay. If we have insecurities, I remember I was really overweight at that time, and I wanted to rebrand when I was going into college, and they paid for me to go to a weight loss specialist so that I could lose weight and be my best self when I'm going into college. There's nothing wrong with that. And I really like the, moms that are coming out here and saying, if you need to pay for your kids' plastic surgery or help them, they're not insecure, but you're helping them be more confident.
It's interesting because note the keywords she used at the beginning. These Christian moms looked at us sideways. So she went to a private Christian school, probably around white people, and she already stood out, probably as the black kid. And then on top of that, her mom said, oh, I'm not, what do you want? Like, I'll help you. And I think her message and what I'm hearing is that as parents, our jobs is to give kids the confidence to walk through the world as themselves. And children don't know themselves yet, but sometimes they do. And sometimes it's an experimentation. And sometimes it's a combination of I want to be all kinds of things. Like, I remember my skincare was really bad. I had really big acne and pimples all over my face growing up. And my mom put me through every skincare regimen you've ever even heard of, like Proactive and Mary Kay and whatever was on the market. My mom was like, we'll figure it out, because she just knew I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. Okay, that wasn't allowed in my household. And so if I wasn't allowed to wear makeup, no way was she going to make me live my life without good skincare. So my mom kind of, her balance was sort of like, if I'm not going to let you wear makeup, I won't also let you walk through with pimples if you don't have to. It was hard. Even on days when I had really bad breakouts, she would let me stay home from school when I went to public school. And I think there's something to be said about the ways our parents try and the way that our parents fail, because I think my parents did fail in a lot of ways. And I also think they succeeded in others. I also think it's interesting that it always falls on the mothers. Even in my household, it was always my mother who was very aware of social dynamics, my mother who's very aware of bullying, my mother who's very aware of how she would, because my mother was also once a young girl in the world and targeted for the way that she looked and being an immigrant and all that stuff. So you start to feel that alienation for sure. But I think when we think about love and compassion and centering children as our focus, I think it always has to come down to an acknowledgement that we live in a really fucked up world. And often your first bullies are your parents. So when parents are sitting there and advocating for their kids to be cool, to get the latest anime backpack, to get the latest whatever, you're saying to your kid, I see you. I see what your friends are into. I see that you want to belong, and I'm not going to stop you from belonging. Because I think a big part of what we miss in these conversations is the child's desire to get the same video games as their friends so they can all talk about it together. Hey, what'd you do over summer vacation? And it's oh my gosh, did you guys watch this new episode of so-and-so? So much of our nostalgia as adults, so much of your dating as an adult is what you grew up on. My partner is a European Croatian, and yet the reason we get along is they grew up watching Fresh Prince and all the cartoons I grew up watching and all the anime I grew up watching. So we could talk about millennial TV shows together, even though we grew up in completely different countries. We have so much cultural overlap. We had very similar, not literally the same childhoods, obviously, but that is so powerful. And I really feel like people are underestimating that, like, what your child builds their childhood on correlates to how they socialize as an adult. So if I was ever a parent, I always told myself, what kind of a kid would I have? Who would I expect my kid to be when they're 40? Like, what are the things that I'm going to associate their childhood with? What is the memory I'm going to give them? Because we don't think about it. We don't think how powerful it is as parents to give our kids memories, like the sound of a song. Why, when all of us, now atheist, former Catholic Christian kids, our God is an awesome God. When we hear that song, all of us go, and then there's the black version and the white version, okay? And then we all know the difference. That is, and then do you connect? Because sometimes when I see other people, I'm like, oh, like, we all grew up with, okay, we know it. It feels really good to be like, oh my God, do you grow up with it too? What is that? That is how powerful parenting can be. But as parents, you don't think about it. You don't even think, because you're probably just not actively thinking about it unless you are. And so we have to remember millennial parents are not the same thing as boomer parents. Like the millennial parents who are having kids or the Gen Z parents who are having kids, they're raising their kids different as they should. And they should be very aware of bullying dynamics and very aware of, how you come across. And that includes all genders and all people. You know what I mean? Like you should care about people and you should consider people's feelings, So you don't want to be a bully because that's fucking weird. And, it's like that. What was that movie? Hold on. It was a remake. It was a remake with, it was Johnny Depp did it when he was younger. And then they're like police officers who pretend they're high schoolers with Channing Tatum and that fuck up guy. What was his name? You know what I mean? So the new generation is here, and Channing Tatum and what's his face are Channing Tatum's trying to be the cool guy who's like bullying people, and not James Franco, but his brother, he's in it, and he was like, yo, you don't care about climate change, dude? What are you, a fucking loser? And then like the cool kids are the kids who care about the environment, and Channing Tatum doesn't know what to do because Channing Tatum's like, wait, when I went to school, the environmentalists were nerds, and now the nerdy cop is like the cool cop because they care about the environment. Yeah, 21 Jump Street. Thank you, chap. 21 Jump Street. Thank you. So it's like, it's that kind of shit where like what you think is popular when you were younger is just not in. You got to listen to your kids. And also popular is a very interesting word. We just mean like, again, can network, can form relationships. Like how many times am I going to have a grumpy 40-year-old in my chat say, well, I don't have friends and my parents never gave me friends. Okay, well, maybe you were neglected. Like, that's what I'm saying. How can we on one side of our mouth say like, hey, we're really afraid of school shooters. And then the other side of our mouth be like, we shouldn't have to force our kids to be cool and have friends. Like, which one is it? Like, yes, there's a balance between who is weird and who's not weird. But ultimately, like, there is something here that we all understand, like, oh, that kid is weird. And like, the kid is weird in a way that I'm like, I'm so sorry you can't be here. Do you know how many people I've had to ban from my Discord because people DM me and go, Brittany, this person makes me so uncomfortable. And if you keep them in the Discord, I have to leave. I'm so sorry. You're so fucking weird. But like, it is one of those things where at some point you cannot be so known in a community for being weird, okay? And not have me go, I'm sorry, no. Okay? Absolutely not. There have been people so fucking weird that they like Discord hop, they community hop, and other creators have to reach out to me and say, so-and-so showed up in my community and they say that they know you. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's just a rando in the Discord. Like it's just a person in the community. They literally are so socially, they make everyone like the back of their, and I'm saying, you need to figure it out. Or these are the, you know what I mean? Like we all talk about the men who live with their parents at 45. Like, what do you think is happening? Like, what do you really think is happening here? Like, yes, there is a part of it where mental health and disability is playing a role, but there is a huge part of it in which like there is a complete, like a deep, serious issue in society. And I just don't understand when are we going to have this conversation for real? You know? Just like today's conversation, like when are we going to be so fucking for real about these topics? Jesus Christ, we live in a world where everyone thinks they're not a bigot. Like we really live in a world where everybody thinks they're a good person. Like really, really thinks they have nothing to fucking work on. While we sit here and watch the world burn. I'm so serious today, girls. Like walk in, okay? Anyways, I want to share her Her story. Chat says, my parents used to decorate my locker and they'd always give me candy, gum, or stop by the school to give me donuts. Always enough to share. So I would share with everyone. That's cute. Chat says, wait, can you sing, Brit? Only through the power of Jesus Christ. Chat says, I was kept from a lot of non-religious media growing up, and it leaves a big gap trying to connect with people as I get older. I get that. Yeah. Chat says, as a no kid boy, I'm just so sad that I don't have anyone to tell me what's cool nowadays. Let me tell you, this is why we got to pay attention to what young people are doing. Young people know what's up. Okay. I trust young people to know what is up. Okay, let me see. Let me do this. Hold on. I'm worried in my Discord. Chess is different than pushing me to changing my body. Not that they were great support in any other area. And the candy was still didn't help being black in an all white school. Well, talk about intersections too. I think it's like the awareness too of parents. Like they, I don't know why we're acting like our parents were all great at parenting us. I think we grew up in a culture where like, and listen, don't talk shit about my mom, right? Like someone tried that the other day with me. You can't talk shit about my mom. I get to talk shit about my mom. But if you talk bad about my mother, I will block you. Because like, I'm sharing for us to sit there and go, yeah, bro, my mom too. Hey, what are you going to do? Not for you to go, oh, your mom. No, don't talk about my mom. Okay. I am sharing to humanize our experiences as children, not for you to sit here. Somebody said something like, I had to block this person. Somebody said something like something like, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was like the energy was like they were coming at my parents because they were MAGA in like a very particular way. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to tell you this. Like, this is what I want to talk about today. Like, everybody is bigoted. There is no marginalized community that isn't bigoted. There's no white community that isn't bigoted. Everybody's homophobic. Everybody's transphobic. Everybody sucks. And the only thing that's going to make the difference is if we deconstruct, which is why it's really disappointing to see the amount of straight women, marginalized straight women, not making the fucking effort. Because Jesus fucking Christ, ladies, come on. Now, I did put out a video yesterday about the wearing people's hair stuff, and great comments from some people. And then some, like, you know, this comment here, like, human hair is used to create wigs for cancer patients and they deserve quality comfort. You know, they also deserve not getting cancer, but here we are. You know what I mean? You know what else we could do is live in a world where people embrace their natural hair. But we don't live in that world because we live in a white supremacist world that doesn't allow you to do that, right? You act like you just fell out of the fucking coconut tree. We act like all of this isn't $1 billion fucking industry. How about cancer patients can wear wigs or not wear wigs? How about people don't have to exist in a world where they have to be bald? How about like we live in a world where we get down to the root of why I even feel ashamed of being bald in the first place, okay? Because I'm really kind of sick of living in this like la la land where we're like, twofold, right, guys? Like, yes, we can aim for a world that's better. And two, we have to, as adults, combat this, not as children. So again, your children in high school do not have the tools to combat white supremacy and patriarchy and capitalism. That's your job as the adult. We, as adults in communities, we can take the risks. This is what I'm saying. How do adults at 40 start talking about how much there's pressure in the industry, how much work is hard, how much women have to do their makeup and hair, and then you're sitting here saying kids shouldn't have to do anything. Kids should just be kids. Like, kids need adults to fight for them. We need to advocate for children. And then as adults, we take the hit by showing up as authentic and professional as possible, meaning in our natural hair, in our clothes, in our goth, in our whatever. But like, why are we throwing this on children? I don't even know what the answer is there, okay? Now I understand, and chat pointed out that like the industry is really bad. And also, like, there is a reason people use synthetic or don't use synthetic wigs, which is absolutely valid, right? Absolutely valid. But I think sometimes parents, yes, chat says that help get clicked more. It's not their job to try and fight those systems. Parents really put it on their kids. My parents put so much pressure on me at 10 years old to fight systems. And I'm like, why the fuck am I in charge of this? Why am I having nightmares? Why am I obsessed with the news? Why am I having all these complexes over saving the world? And I'm like 10 years old. Oh, because the adults in the community aren't doing it. They're saying, it's you. We had you to make the difference. It's all on the kids. We just gave birth to the next blah, 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 insert inspirational person here. And I'm sitting here like, absolutely not. Are we about to put it on the kids to save the world? Like, this is an Avatar. This isn't an anime. The Avatar is not a 12-year-old boy. Do you know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. Okay? And so again, when we have these conversations, adults are really, really going like this. And they're giving it to the children. And I'm saying, stop it. Stop. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. We don't even think about kids are listening to you. That's what I'm saying. These straight women that are saying, I don't want to date bisexual men because I don't want to get AIDS. God forbid you have a bisexual child. And God forbid they hear that. Do you know what I'm saying? What the fuck is wrong with you? And I know what the fuck is wrong with you. It's patriarchy. You are so infected by patriarchy. You say the most homophobic fucking shit. Insane. Okay, now, look at this. Terrifying story out of New York. Just absolute terrifying story out of New York. Major trigger warning. Major trigger warning, guys. Murder of a woman. Rape of her corpse. Terrible story.
About 15 minutes before the vile attack, captured the defendant allegedly practicing a chokehold on a stuffed animal.
Nassau County DA Ann Donnelly says Joseph Horner lured his sister-in-law to his North Massapequa apartment, claiming he needed help moving a keyboard. The 27-year-old is then accused of raping and killing her.
He put her in a chokehold until her body went limp. He then removed her clothing, placed her on her bed, and raped her. She suffered internal hemorrhaging and bruising from the assault, and later died as a result of manual strangulation at the hands of her own brother-in-law. During the alleged attack, the defendant answered a FaceTime call from his wife, the victim's sister, who was away on a bachelorette trip.
She says during that call, Horner acted like nothing was wrong. The DA says Horner, who was a music teacher, lusted over his sister-in-law for 9 years. Horner pleaded not guilty. Sophia Hall, 1010 wins.
Okay. A music teacher. We are just, we're living in a really fucked up world, and it isn't about him being a man. It isn't about gender. It's about how he's been socialized as a man. It is about some neglect. Something fell through the system. And then there's just like there's these parts of the population that we kind of like have to understand there is like a biological component. And yet there is also just everybody else who's still doing it anyways. Look at Jared fucking Leto.
Four women have accused Oscar-winning actor and 30 Seconds to Mars frontman Jared Leto of criminal sexual conduct, with the alleged offences taking place when they were teenagers. One of the women says she was subjected to sexual assault in a motel bathroom when she was 17. Another says the Hollywood star threatened her with sexual assault when she was 19 and had been unexpectedly left alone with him in a hotel room.
One of the women, who was 17 at the time, says she had sex with Leto in California when he was 34. The age of consent in the US state is 18, which would make this a criminal offence. She said Leto shrugged off a conversation about the age of consent.
She spoke to the BBC on condition of anonymity, which she is owed by law.
Two other women we spoke to during our investigation have decided to waive their right to anonymity. Alex was a model in London in 2013. She was 19 when she was invited to see a 30 Seconds to Mars show through her modelling agency. After the show, an assistant invited Alex to an after-show party at a hotel. When she got there, Leto was alone. He was 41 at the time.
Ugh.
Then I'm sat there and saying, okay, well, my phone is dying, so I can't really get home from here. So I ask him if he has a phone charger. No, I don't. Okay, I also don't have any cash left. Could I get some cash to get a cab home? No, I don't have any cash. I was sat on a chaise longue kind of thing. So I was kind of like thinking to myself, could I just sleep here?
Alex says that Leto threatened to sexually assault her while she was asleep.
I ask him, can I just sleep here then? And then he just goes, if you're going to sleep here, you're going to wake up with a in your ass.
Isabel, not her real name, said she met Leto at her job in Las Vegas when she was 17. He was 30. He asked to hang out after her shift and meet at his motel.
I didn't think much of it. I just was like, oh, he's still getting ready and we're going to meet up there and then we're going to go out afterwards. This is where it gets hard.
Instead, she says Leto sexually assaulted her.
I don't think I ever, till recently, ever blamed him. I always blamed me.
Despite repeated attempts to contact Jared Leto, he has not responded. So these are 4 cases out of the UK, or the BBC is reporting, sorry. And I know we're not surprised because of his cult activity a few years ago. And I think, listen, as somebody who grew up watching or listening to 30 Seconds to Mars and watching Jared Leto movies, I think we all got the universal ick and question mark for him a long time ago. Now, I think it's been quite a long time ago. And I think we were all just waiting, which is terrible. But I believe these women, obviously, I don't think any of us are surprised, disappointed always in how many predators get away with it. But this is why I say this fuckboy persona, this like entitlement, this just use of power is disgusting and consistent, and the pattern is clear. And it's just a reminder. It's just a reminder. We have so much work to do in the world, because I just know people are going to blame these women, these victims, you know? So I'm glad they're finally being heard. I'm proud of them for coming out. And I just hope that justice is served. It's hard to say, but it also goes to show you too, a lot of people hang out with Jared Leto. A lot of girlies out there hanging out with Jared Leto. Celebrities, I mean. So you better, you know what I mean? Cut those ties. Okay, let's take a little refresher. I saw this TikTok and I watched it like 4 times. It was so funny. Okay, and we'll take a breather and then we'll get into the harder topics, okay? So here's a little breather for us. It says, does Mariah Carey have 2 Nobel Prizes?
I just want to shout out to Mariah Carey, bro.
What?
She got like 2 Nobel Prizes, bro, in 2 different disciplines.
Nobel Peace Prizes?
Yeah.
Mariah Carey?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like in physics and chemistry.
She does physics?
Yeah, she did it, bro. I think the first Nobel Prize she won it with her husband.
Nick Cannon has a Nobel Peace Prize.
Who?
Wasn't Nick Cannon Nick Cannon's her ex-husband, eh?
No, you don't know Mariah from Poland?
I know Mariah Carey, the singer.
She sings too.
Are we talking about different Mariahs?
No, Mariah Carey.
Do you know how I know Mariah Carey?
Yeah.
She's like one of my sister's favorite musical artists. And then also she dropped one of her studio albums the same day as 9/11.
9/11. When was that? That's
2001, September 1st.
Then that's impossible. Because she got a Nobel Prize in 1905.
Oh, so this is okay. So sharp, yeah. So who's this Mariah Carey you speak of?
The scientist.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to shout out.
That is every conversation on the internet. That is every fucking conversation on the internet in your homes with anybody. Yes, Marie Curie. Okay, this is every conversation we are ever having. And this is what I'm saying. Like, fuck, that was so funny to me because it was so innocent and so like without consequence. But we are having these miscommunications with very consequential conversations. What do you mean by consent? What is love? What's unconditional love? What's homophobia? What's biphobia? Am I a bigot? Like, whew. But I was laughing. I was like, this is so funny. And it's just a reminder that we have got to pay attention to like the conversations we're having and understand the miscommunication. The other day I was talking to my sister and I was making comparisons. I was talking about neurodivergency and I was like just listing off like these things. And my sister goes, wait, are you saying that about me? And I was like, no. And she goes, oh, because like you were talking about me and then you started making a list of things. And I was like, yes, a list of neurodivergent tendencies that overlap with this experience. And so she was like, but you're not talking about me. And I was like, no. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know if it's my job or if it's just the way people communicate, but I do notice myself getting a little bit more annoyed with everybody because it feels like, are you deliberately not listening to me? Or Or am I just speaking a different fucking language? Because why are you talking? Like, why wouldn't the conversation follow that? Like, what is it? What's happening? And it's not just me, because you're going to see it in this biphobia conversation where it's like, why are you talking? Why does it feel like I'm back in my parents' house and I'm back arguing with my brother when my brother goes, do you think drag queens or trans people? No, he goes, do you think drag queens should be in high schools? I'm like, why would drag queens be in high schools? And then he's like, because they're like a different gender. I'm like, you mean trans people? And he's like, whatever. And I was like, no, not whatever. No, not whatever. That fucking matters. Guys, we're literally about to have a conversation where straight women are so upset being told they're biphobic for not dating bi men or not being even open to it that they're like, oh, well, why don't you tell a gay man why don't you tell a straight man to date a gay man? What? And then I don't know how to say this so respectfully, but like, oh my God, are you stupid? Like, and then it's like one of these conversations where like, we're not even talking about the complex nature of he, him lesbians. Wait until they find out about he, him lesbians. You can't even understand the difference between straight, bi, and gay. Like, oh my God, this is the basics. And like, I'm sitting here like, we're talking about why the world is the way it is, and you don't know the difference? Like, you don't know the difference between a bi person and a gay person? And like, everybody's gay, really. But like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? We'll get into it. Before we do, I think this is really important. And it plays into what I'm building up to. Okay? It plays it. And by the way, I am waiting for YV Edit, Lisa, to post her latest fucking stream, which was, by the way, the most disgusting stream I've ever seen from women. Holy fucking shit, go sit with MAGA. You're banned. Go sit with MAGA. Holy fucking shit. Her and the Sovereign Woman had the most disgusting conversation I have ever listened to in my life. And I didn't even get a chance to listen to it all because I had to leave the house for shit. But there was one queer person on that panel who tried to come in and explain it to them. And God bless her for trying. God bless this woman for even trying. It was the most disgusting, fucking bigoted conversation I've ever heard. Go sit with MAGA. When she posts that video, we're going to watch it. I'm waiting for her to post it because she usually posts her streams on her YouTube channel. Oh my God. They were talking about should straight women date bi men, and is it biphobic not to date them? Lisa gave the most disgusting examples. Disgusting examples. Like, it was so bioessentialist. It was so bigoted. It was so disgusting to listen to that I was just like, oh my God. Like, it's like I was transported back to 1999 and I'm sitting in an Assyrian home full of fucking bigots. It was ridiculous. I was listening to it live on TikTok. It hasn't been posted to YouTube yet. I'm waiting. She usually posts, these are streams. She usually posts it to YouTube after. She better post this one, girl. Don't run away from it. Better post it so I can dissect it. It was so gross. Things like, oh, I would never date a man if he's been with a man before, because like, I'm not into that. A man will never be satisfied with me if he likes anal, because like, I'm not going to have anal. Bisexual men will never be satisfied with women because they always end up being gay. Bullshit like that. And I'm like, hello? What are you saying? What are you saying out loud? And they're like, oh, now they're saying it's transphobic not to date trans women. Like, what? And I'm like, what are we talking about? Or it's it transphobic not to date. Oh, like, stop. They're talking about like diseases, AIDS, HIV. They're like, oh, bisexual men have a higher chance of HIV, so I don't want to be with them. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. That's specifically a gay thing. Nice try. Like, it was such a horrible conversation. It was so gross. Sovereign Woman was like, I'm the biggest fan. I'm the biggest ally to the LGBTs. And I'm like, no, you're not. Sit the fuck down. Allies, you're not an ally. That is not ally behavior. I'm so sorry. Like, you can't say you're an ally in one side of your mouth and then say the most biphobic, transphobic fucking shit ever. Like, that's not allyship. Like, no, that's not, I don't need those type of allies in my corner. It was so unnecessarily cruel. It was so unnecessarily bigoted. All in the name of women saying like, I don't want to tell women what to do. Nobody is telling you what to do. Nobody is telling you what to do. We're saying you are exhibiting homophobia, biphobia. And they're like, well, I guess I'm biphobic then. I'm like, Jesus Christ. You sound like every white national that's like, I guess I'm racist then. I guess I'm a misogynist then. I guess I'm a toxic masculinity then. Not even trying, bro. Not even trying. We're so far away, girls. We're so far away from our goals. Just remember how much work you've done to deconstruct. We are so far away from our fucking goals. It's fucking insane. Okay? Now, with that said, look at this video. I think it's really interesting. Okay? First, no, let me start off this. Okay, there's a new white boy on the... It's trash and I disapprove of everything. I disapprove of what I'm about to show you. Okay? I disapprove of this.
White boy saying you don't know me, but you gon' remember white boy. I'm white as fuck with all this beer inside the six. These ostrich boots got them all thinking I'm from Texas. I said, now y'all thinking about my boy named Buckle Down. She started throwing that thing back up on my buckle down.
Okay, I disapprove. Okay, gross. I disapprove. I will no longer see any white people rapping with grills in their mouth. I will no longer hear any lyrics relating to twerking in any capacity. I will not allow it to happen. Okay, I am putting my foot down. I don't want to hear any cowboys, any white boys, anyone who looks like they voted for MAGA, co-opting any part of black culture for anything. For exactly this reason and every reason that you can think of.
That song is not like...
This is Alabama Barker is rebranding. Look at this amazing TikTok.
like what I want to do in music anymore, but for that era, it was so much fun.
So fun.
Look like I'm fresh out of vault. I never do what I'm told. I get a track, it's just me and my host. I would just make it on toes.
Now I want to go like in a pop route, so I'm kind of rebranding. I just want to do something more fun and more me.
When talking about cultural appropriation, the reason why cultural appropriation is so harmful and we should continue speaking out against people who are culturally appropriating is because cultural appropriation by nature is not only inherently malicious, but is also inherently exploitative. The reason why cultural appropriation is so harmful is because to even appropriate a culture, you have to be sitting in a place of privilege that the people from that culture do not get to experience. Alabama Barker has now gone online saying that she is going through a rebrand into a brand that is more her. The harm with cultural appropriation, and something that we have seen time and time again, is that adopting a certain aesthetic for popularity, specifically online in her case, it leads to an ability to be able to wash off that same aesthetic when you tire of it or when it is no longer benefiting you. That is exploitative and that is malicious because it is saying that a certain culture is only something that you are willing to aestheticize and is only something that you are willing to step into if you can gain a benefit from it. That is exploitative because a lot of people cannot wash off a culture when they are sick of it because they are a part of that culture due to their proximity to that culture and due to their skin color. The unfortunate part about aestheticizing a culture is that you are not a part of that culture, and appropriating a culture is actually just doing the same colonistic thing that your ancestors did to that very same culture. You took from it while not simultaneously giving credit where credit is due, and now that you are bored of it and now that it is no longer benefiting you, you are pushing it to the side for something that is more you.
Very Miley Cyrus of her. This is exactly why I call Trisha Paytas a cultural appropriator. Because when it's convenient and popular, Trisha Paytas is like, I speak Korean now. And then when it's literally not trending or interesting, it's like, where did it go? Okay, again, this is why it is so important to recognize the media literacy is so important just to recognize, like, what are we seeing in terms of brands? Okay, I talk about this all the time. Nobody becomes famous on accident. Okay. And then reciting Dr. Ball's quote about you can't be rich, radical, and famous. I believe this. So if somebody is truly famous or has a big following in their bubble considered famous, you know, not like The Rock famous, but, you know, famous, not Kevin Hart famous, but, you know, famous, right? You know, like Anara Smith, who we're about to talk about, and then they have the audacity to act like it wasn't a brand. This is why I say everything is a brand, even their outrage. Even their outrage, right? Okay, look at Anara Smith on a recent interview with Call Her Daddy, which has its issues. Okay, look at her being upset at the trad wife accusations.
You know what? Let's Google what the definition of a trad wife is.
Well, that's perfect. So I was actually going to ask you, what do you consider a trad wife?
Well, I had to look up the term.
Read it to me.
Because I wasn't familiar with that, right? I didn't quite know what it means. But the fast answer is a trad wife is a woman who embraces or promotes a traditional model of marriage and family life where she typically prioritizes being a homemaker and a primary caregiver for kids, takes primary responsibility for cooking, cleaning, and managing the household, supports her husband's role as the primary breadwinner, often values traditional gender roles within marriage. So with that definition and those points, I'm none of that.
Okay, the chat on this TikTok, it says, well, hold on. No one claims she was an actual trad wife. She is cosplaying a trad wife. Nara, don't, Nara. I know Nara is a young person, very young person, I think 25 with 5 kids. Okay, but Nara, nobody accused you of being an actual trad wife. We know you work. Everyone's always said you're a fake trad wife. You literally have a full-time job. You're literally a paid supermodel and you have millions of followers on TikTok. We know you're not a trad wife. You're cosplaying one. That's always been the accusation. That has always been the claim. So for her to come on the Call Her Daddy, which is the #1 podcast for girls, and twist the narrative as if every critique of her hasn't been that you're cosplaying something you're not even existing in, because that's the problem with the grift. The dangerous part of the grift is sending the message that Nara Smith's life is attainable as a normal ass trad wife, which is not true because Nara isn't a trad wife. She's cosplaying one. That's the problem. That's been the problem, right? And I know Nara's really young, so I get it. And she has, like, her husband's a former Mormon, and she's friends with Ballerina Farm, and she's definitely in a very specific bubble. But just to come on her, to Call Her Daddy and twist that narrative is very annoying.
And we can go through it point by point. I don't prioritize being a homemaker. I'm a working mom. Like, I am out in LA. I travel a lot. Sure, do I love cooking because it's my passion and because I kind of have to do it given my autoimmune? Absolutely. But that's a passion of mine. It's a hobby. It's not something that I need to be doing for what?
Right?
Right.
Keep going. I like this.
This is good. Primary caregiver for my kids? No. My husband and I split it 50-50. Like, when he works, I watch them. When I work, he watches them. And now, given everything that's been going on, we also have help. My mom's out. We have someone that helps us with the kids because it's just not doable for me to do it all. So that doesn't really work, right? Takes primary responsibility for cooking, cleaning, and managing the household. Yeah, I like to cook. Okay, sue me. I like to cook. My husband burns everything apart from a good steak, so he'll do that. But I like cooking, so I'm doing it. Household and cleaning, he does the dishes. I don't touch the dishes. There's no way you're gonna see me washing and scrubbing the dishes. Also, he cleans our house. You know what? Let's go.
So chat says this feels like a rebrand to me. Great catch, chat. It is definitely a rebrand. 1000% our girl is rebranding. And that's why I say, girls, Nara Smith isn't famous on accident. None of these girls are famous on accident. Everything is deliberate. Everything is with intention. It is not an accident, okay? Check out this. This is Jahalis. I don't know if that's like a nickname or her name. I think it might just be her name. This is a great TikTok. I'm going to go ahead and link her account. You guys can check her out. But let's go ahead and watch her explore. Explore this topic. Okay, I'm going to times 2 it. It's a little long, but it's really good about media literacy and specifically Nara Smith and specifically like what you're viewing and seeing, because I'll show it to you and then I'll talk about it.
So deep in a media literacy problem. We are so deep in a media literacy problem that people don't even really understand what media literacy means. Like, so many of you brought up media literacy this summer when Sincere from Love Island said epitome instead of epitome, right? And you're like, that's evidence of media literacy, guys. It's like, no, it's not, because he used the word correctly. Like, him mispronouncing the word is actually, in fact, not evidence of a media literacy problem, because the fact that he used the word correctly is evidence that he does, in fact, know the word and used it in the correct.
This is so, as a dyslexic girly who mispronounces words or forgets how to say them, I know what things mean, but I think because of the way my brain is, it sounds like, oh, she doesn't know. But like, he knew the word, the context, everything was fine. It's just the pronouncing. He probably just like in the first comment on this video, he mispronounced it probably because he learned it reading instead of saying it out loud. Like, as a person who's read thousands of books, I still mispronounce words all the fucking time because so much of the words that I read were in my head and I wasn't always sounding out the words as I was reading. If you guys read, like, especially if you fast read, you really don't even sound out the words. You just like know what they are on visual and you're like, got it. And then you're like, you know, so it is one of those things where I think it's very important.
Context. Media literacy is about comprehension, contextualization, and it's also about understanding the unsaid, about being able to read between the lines. When we are discussing a media literacy problem in America, what we are talking about is people not being able to correctly infer. If something is not spelled out for you black and white, then it does not exist. That is why books are getting dumber and dumber. That is why movies and television shows suck, because everything needs to be.
And this is going to play into the conversation we're having again, the conversation we'll have after this about straight women not wanting to date bisexual men. Like, we have an education problem in the United States that straight women can get up here and say they're the biggest allies to the LGBTQ community, and then with the same breath say all bisexual men are actually just gay, and I won't date a gay or a bisexual man because I think he'll leave me for a man, and I won't date a bisexual man because he likes penis and I don't have one. What? Like, that's what? And so again, like, I don't even know where to start with you. That's why when Chad asks me, like, Brittany, where should I start with philosophy books? Girl, I don't even know what level you're on right now. That's what I'm saying. If I gave you Judith Butler, you would feel so overwhelmed. Oh my God, you don't even know what a bisexual is? I can't just like recommend anything to you because I don't know where you're starting from. You know, and I don't want to look like a fucking elitist who's like, oh, I'm going to start them on something fucking dense and thick as fuck. And then everyone's like, why'd she send me this book? I didn't know. You know, I don't know. And then people are gonna be like, I don't like philosophy because I don't understand it. Yeah, everyone has to start somewhere. I get it. But it's one of those things where it's so frustrating to live a life as a marginalized person, by the way, like, and to sit here and advocate so hard for queer rights, just to have people who say they're the biggest allies say the most reductive, harmful shit about my community. That's so annoying. That's so annoying.
Needs to be spelled out for the reader or the viewer, or if not, it does not exist. You do not know how to infer. Literacy is a key component to being able to correctly decipher propaganda, and is one of the main reasons why books get banned and why like reading comprehension and media literacy in general are kind of frowned upon when you are leaning into fascism, right? Because when you have media literacy and you possess this tool, it makes it very easy for you to spot propaganda. A joke that's been told since, like, I want to say going back to Ronald Reagan, is that propaganda in America is so good that Americans believe that we have no propaganda.
Exactly. So Americans think every other country is filled with propaganda and they're so evil and oh my God, like, but they don't think it's happening in their own country.
Because good propaganda should be subtle. Good propaganda should be so quietly done that it can be very easily denied. What America does is that it first introduces an idea through media, through television, through film, usually through fiction, right? And it gets you used to this idea. Like, you see it in media and TV, and you start to think, because media and TV reflect real life, that because you're seeing it in TV and in movies, that must be what it's like in real life.
Okay, and especially if you're neurodivergent, you really think TV is real life. Like, people really think your life is like a book or a movie. And let me tell you, like, art imitates life, life imitates art, but also be very careful with this narrative. And you have to recognize, like, it's not always that way. Real people's lived lives are unique and nuanced and layered, and all of us are living very complex lives. So, like, you can't sit there and watch how media conveys one group of people. I think we all know how that feels, and think that this stereotype of this group is applied to every other group. And that's why it's so dangerous when you have a marginalized person brand their bullshit brand as something that's counterintuitive to our liberation movements. So for Nara Smith, a black woman, to decide to make content looking like a trad wife, which she isn't even, right? Sending the message to people, especially to women of color, that you don't need to get an education, you don't need to get a job, you don't need to go out there and be independent, is bullshit when she has a full-time career she's had, by the way, since she was really young. Okay? And so there's so many layers to this. Ballerina Farm too, her husband's worth like $50 million. You know what I mean? Like, these people are rich. These people are so fucking filthy rich, it's disgusting. Okay? So when we have these conversations, they are sending a message out to primarily people who are probably making less than $60K a year, the hope and dream that one day they too will be a stay-at-home trad wife and a home that's bringing in $70K a year with 10 kids. Like, what are we talking about?
Because life imitates art, you start to see it in real life. After you see it in real life, then media starts to create this kind of subtle rule that this is the norm. When something has been established as the norm, that is when the law gets involved to make something legal/illegal, because they know that they won't get any backlash because it's already been established as a societal norm. It's already been established as an unspoken rule, and now we all have to do is just add the federal government to it. But the government has been involved since step number one. This good propaganda is not about telling you what to do directly. It is about creating a society where...
Hold on, pause. Chat, I'm going to derail for a second. You said, I think the birth rate decline is propaganda because, girl, everyone I know is pregnant. Yeah, but see, everyone I know is not pregnant. So our anecdotal bubbles can't be the data. You just go off the statistics. Just go off the data from your governments. Like, we know there's a problem with birth declines around the world. It doesn't matter. This isn't a tragedy. This is just the new way of living. But, like, who cares? Like, who cares if there's a birth decline? Like, who literally cares? You know what I mean? The problem is, like, we have to care in order to make sure resources are, you know, gathered correctly and given out correctly. But otherwise, like, there's 8 billion people on the planet, girls. It's okay. You know what I mean? But, like, nobody I know is having a baby except my one sister-in-law, and she's very Catholic. Otherwise, none of my feminist girlies are pregnant or have had babies. You know what I mean? So, you know, when we have these anecdotal experiences, they're super valid, but they are bubbled on a planet of 8 billion people. But with that said, plenty of people are having babies. So, you know what I mean? But there's no worry about the birth. The only worry about the birth decline, genuinely, is resources. And the good news is there will be more of it for more people. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're not even centered around kids anyways. We don't even care about the planet. Nobody is really thinking about bigger picture stuff here because we're too busy fucking not looking in the mirror with our own shit. You know what I mean? But I agree that there is a lot of propaganda to have more babies in the United States. But that's why Trump is freaking out because not enough people are having babies. So he's missing out on workers and voters. And that's why he's trying to incentivize women to get pregnant. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, Chad says the birth decline is a symptom. It's definitely a system, right? It's definitely a symptom of the economy, of the world, of also women realizing like, I don't want to get pregnant by these men. You know what I mean? So let's go. Let's go, girls.
Where what they want you to do is the normal. It is the standard, and then you shame anyone else who does things outside of it. Good propaganda does not tell you what to do. It creates a world in where you believe that what they want you to do is your original idea, that you came to that conclusion all on your own. Capitalism sucks. The economy is in the garbage. Women are still being paid less than men, expected to do more work in the work and also at home with their children. And the solution to that is that you will just marry rich, and then you will spend your husband's money, and then your husband will take care of you. That is a brand new idea that you came up with because you're tired of capitalism and not just what patriarchy has been since the beginning of time. I hate working so much, so instead I want us to be a stay-at-home mom and bake for my children for a very rich and wealthy man who will just take care of us. Wow, I can't believe you just invented that. And it has not been that you've been consuming.
This is literally what I was talking about yesterday with age gap relationships where older people will be like, I have to date younger people because they're more progressive. But if you're an older man dating a younger woman, you're just like fulfilling patriarchy script for you. You're not doing anything like new. And I can't believe I fell for any of that propaganda when I was younger. Like, yeah, maybe older people do need to date younger because like, oh, people their age are so conservative and no, there's nothing unique or extraordinary or mind-blowingly new about old men dating young girls, okay? Boo.
What, 5-6 years worth of content of women being like, stay at home mom, stay at home mom. Oh, I love my husband. I love my kids. I just get to bake for them all day. It's so easy. No stressing at a job. No boss yelling at me. No emails. You think that's accidental that you've been consuming that kind of content on a loop for 5 or 6 years now. And now you've reached a solution that, you know what, having a career is not for you because you're just a girl. What's happening is that now that we've reached a level where the propaganda is no longer subtle, right? Where we have 19-year-old girls coming on the internet telling girls, quit school because being a wife and a stay-at-home mom is so much better. I'm 19 years old, right? And that is obviously alarming. That's alarming to even the worst denier is like, hey, that's actually kind of insane. So now that we've gotten to the point where the propaganda is no longer, the plausible deniability in the propaganda is gone. Now we have all of the big factors that played a part into pushing this movement, who did it correctly, who did it in a way that was subtle, are now backtracking, are now being like, well, I never said that. Well, I never did that. Because now that we have entered the era where we start to see all of the negative consequences of this very dangerous rhetoric that's been put out there, right? The big machines that profited the most from spreading this kind of propaganda because they did it correctly now have plausible deniability. Now can be like, well, I never said that. I never told you to go do that.
Go through it point by point. I don't prioritize being a homemaker. I'm a working mom. Like, I am out in LA. I travel a lot. Primary caregiver for my kids, no. My husband and I split it 50-50. So that doesn't really work, right? Takes primary responsibility for cooking, cleaning, and managing the household. Yeah, I like to cook. Okay, sue me. I like to cook. My husband burns everything apart from a good steak, so he'll do that. But I like cooking, so I'm doing it. Household and cleaning, he does the dishes. I don't touch the dishes. There's no way you're gonna see me washing and scrubbing the dishes. Also, he cleans our house. So that doesn't make any sense. Supports the husband's role as the primary breadwinner. No, we both work. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I provide for our family.
Nara Smith goes on the Call Her Daddy.
Pause. Chad says, I love her attitude here. Sue me. What do you love about it? Because when I see it, I'm annoyed. Because what happened to your little ASMR voice? What happened to your branding? What happened to your 12 million followers? You know what I mean? Like, oh, now you're a girl boss feminist? Oh, now you have attitude? Oh, now, okay. So I can't help but look at that and be like, and again, I know she's young, but also
Daddy podcast, the podcast that I like to call a place where media literacy goes to die, right? And she finally decides to address the rumors that she is a trad wife and she spreads.
Oh, see, chat's falling for the propaganda, chat. You said I've never seen her stand up for herself. Habibi, she's never had to because she's always gotten everything she wanted. Habibi, you're falling for the propaganda. This is exactly the brand change she wants to make. Yeah, that's exactly what she wants you to feel. She wants you to feel like Nara Smith is finally standing up for herself. She's so powerful. She's such an inspiration. Look at her finally standing up to the bullies. It works so well on you so quick. No offense, none taken. Okay, I'm going to take it back I'm going to say it on your behalf. because it is what it is, girl. Okay? This is exactly the propaganda. This is exactly the brand change. This is exactly the point.
Trad wife propaganda. And she's essentially being like, I don't know where people got that from. That's not me at all. Before we get into the words that are coming out of her mouth, I'd like to discuss some kind of nonverbal things that are happening here that are subtle indicators to audiences that are sending out a very specific kind of message, right? This is, again, media literacy. It's about reading in between the lines. Number one.
And very fair, Chad, that you said I struggle with these things because I'm an autistic person. For sure. And I think, by the way, I bet a lot of neurodivergent people are a lot of the viewership on the internet because a lot of us find like safe spaces online. And I do think a lot of the viewership in the world is from neurodivergent people that really love the aspirational attitude or aspirational imagery of people on the internet. And I think that a lot of us probably watch a lot of creators for this reason, but it's also something to keep in mind about why I think this stuff kind of works on people.
One, look at the way that she's dressed. She's wearing jeans and a long sleeve t-shirt.
No. Hey, I'm going to block you. I don't know this user. You said tough shit. I'm autistic too. And even I understand how editing works. Hi, do you have a bad attitude for a fucking reason? Hi, are you a absolutely rude person for a fucking reason, bro? You be nice to my chat, bro. Okay? I will block you. Apologize right now or I'm going to block you. Apologize for your attitude because nobody needs to hear it. Okay? Or I'm going to block you. You have one chance. Your next comment better be an apology.
When have we ever seen her dress like this? Is this how she normally dresses?
Thank you. I appreciate the apology. I really do. Thank you for apologizing. It makes a difference. Okay? All right? Autism on autism violence, chat. Exactly, chat. Autism on autism violence. Okay? Thank you for apologizing. We accept it.
I have her blocked, but I went on Google really fast. Let's go through some of her outfits in her other video. Are you seeing a difference? Is there a clear stylistic choice happening here? Look at it. Stare at it. Look. Add up all the outfits.
And she looks gorgeous. Look, no one's saying Nara Smith isn't a beautiful person, that her fashion isn't on point, that all of us would want to feel so pretty when we cook. But let's be real, girl. When I cook, I made dough this week because I make pizzas every day for myself. I have to take off my clothes. I take off my clothes to cook. I cook in a bra because I don't want to get flour all over my clothes, or I wear an apron. But I'm mostly in a bra when I'm cooking because I don't want to get my clothes dirty. The fact that she can afford to get her clothes dirty is the point. The fact that you can afford to get these designer clothes dirty, girls, these are very expensive clothes. Okay? The fact that she can afford to get them dirty is the point. Okay, this was a $5 sweater on sale. I take all precaution not to get this sweater stained. $5 on sale, this sweater, and I do everything I can to not get it dirty. Okay?
All the outfits I just showed you. Does this outfit make sense in the row of outfits I just showed you? Someone whose usual sense of style is extremely feminine, right? Is very dainty. We are talking about very light.
And nice rebrand with the jean pants, girl. We saw that too. Great. This is why I love this video. Nice rebrand with those jean pants.
Layers. Hardly ever. I don't think I've seen a single video where she's wearing pants. She's almost always wearing either a dress or a skirt. It's suddenly a girl who dresses like Kristen Stewart. This outfit is a clear and obvious diversion from her usual sense of style as a way to create a divide from herself and the messaging that she's put out in the world. If she thought there was nothing wrong with what she was doing, she would show up to this work event dressed the way that she always dresses. Number two is her voice. The fact that her voice clearly sounds different here than it does in all of her videos. She's not doing that soft-spoken whisper thing that she does in all her videos. All of a sudden, she's speaking with her chest. All of a sudden, she's speaking with some authority. All of a sudden...
If I'm not mistaken, too, like her husband was a MAGA voter, right? Lucky? He is MAGA, right? Wasn't that confirmed that he was MAGA?
And she can clear her throat and she can speak loudly. It's like the whispering was part of the entire appeal of this, right? The whispering and being soft-spoken was part of the nonverbal messaging that was being sent out here. Now, the accusations of her being and spreading trad wife culture has been but minimum 5 years now, and she's had 5 years to clear it up as one of the biggest creators on TikTok, right? And she was on Shetty, Jay Scammer Shetty. She was on his program. He asked her about trad wives, and she just went like, why does anyone think I'm a trad wife? Like, I don't get it. But, well, she's dressed high femme and all the, like, why do people even think this about me? Right? And she stayed quiet for all 5 of those years and is suddenly now outraged and has had enough of it and wants to suddenly speak out against it. Right now that we have all of these blatant and obvious trad wife influencers being like, I'm 19 and I have kids and I love my husband. And everyone's like, hey, you can't do that. Suddenly she wants to create a divide between her and those creators so that she doesn't have to deal with that backlash. And now she can speak up and say, I have never said that. I've never done that. The need to emphasize that she is a working mom when people like me have been making the argument that she's been a full-time worker the entire time, right? No.
By the way, she's not the only one making a rebrand. Have you seen all the former MAGA guys all coming out against Trump? I really think we're watching a universal rebrand because the new swing is going to be back to girl bossing or back to, they have this whole new girl boss AI thing they've been doing. And I think like there's going to be this new switch up. Stay consistent in your values, girls. The world's about to test you so hard about those values. Stay locked in. All these people are writing trends. All these big brands at the end of the day, they're not showing up authentically as themselves. And I know her kid was recently diagnosed with cancer, which I'm very empathetic to. And that is not something that I'm ignoring. She really is going through something. Her kid is suffering. Separate from that, because all kids can get sick. The truth is that my concern is that Nara Smith's influence, okay, given the situation she's in, could encourage people to think that they too could carry on with this lifestyle without the money to pay for said cancer treatments. Like, that's the dilemma. Poor people's kids also get cancer. And who's going to pay their cancer treatments if everyone's playing tradwife? Okay. So again, when we have these conversations, I'm not saying you can't be a stay-at-home partner. I'm saying that you can't be a stay-at-home parent. I'm saying, hold on now. Now, people might ask me, Brittany, what's the difference from Nara Smith and Ariana showing up with her eating disorder, possibly eating disorder? Again, eating disorders to me are like cancer. You are allowed to be in public sick. Okay. She has a responsibility. I would love for her to take on that responsibility. And also, I see eating disorders the same way I see cancer. That is a thing. You're going through something, okay? Nara Smith, as far as I know, is not going through something. Her brand is a business decision. It's not that she's going through something. Now, she might be going through something, but what we're criticizing today is the brand, okay?
She never said, I take care of my kids 24/7 and I do this stuff and it's easy. She did sell you the idea through imaging that that's what she did, that she took care of her kids while also baking peanut butter and jelly bread from scratch. And it was a piece of work. It was easy for her. Look at how she had time to do her full face of makeup. She had time to put on
exactly. Like, what are we talking about?
A beautiful dress. She had time to do her hair. She had time to have a spotless kitchen, all while holding a baby. She does not have to say stuff out of her mouth to visually imply it.
Exactly.
Choice to lie by omission, because that's what she often did. That's what her content was full of, right? This idea that
which is very good branding, by the way. Very good branding to never talk about the thing that you did. Now, Chad says they were never really MAGA, in my opinion. They were contrarians and got the money that way. They have no values, no integrity, not even hate, just a desire for money at all costs. Well, I think the dilemma here is like the people that were formerly MAGA and who are turning on Trump now. Yes, there's a grifter part of it, but I guarantee you some of those people really voted. And I guarantee you those people were more than happy to influence others to vote. So regardless of who's really MAGA and who's not MAGA and who's a grifter and who's just doing it for money, I mean, if they're really voting, they're really voting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's now if they never voted, sure, full grifter. But if they're voting, I mean, they're putting an action behind those words, right? Okay, chat, do not cap. When you use capital letters in a chat of grown-ups, it's a lot. It's very loud, right? You said no, some of those people were absolutely MAGA. Again, it's like, do you want my attention? It's like it's very triggering to my autism. My sensory issues, don't like it. No capping, unnecessary. Okay, it sounds like you're yelling at a crowd at a coffee shop and you just decided to yell louder than everybody else for no reason. Okay, so like, don't do that. But I will say that, like, regardless, the point is, like, everybody's an adult, and thank you for apologizing, that accepted. Everyone is an adult, and we are sitting here as adults in the room, and there is real people's lives are on the line. And the question is, how do we decide who are the people that we as a community are going to look at and say, do not mimic this person? So like, if you have an Ariana Grande in the world, as a parent, I would say, you know, I really love Ari's music. I really hope she's doing okay. It's, you know, I can see that something's up. And then my kids and I would have that conversation. Oh yeah, something is up. Yeah, looks like Ari's really going through something. My mom would do that to me when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, my mom would say, oh, it really seems like they don't have a support system. And I'm like, oh yeah, they don't have a support system. And what it would do is it would allow me as a child to not fill in the gaps of what I was seeing with something romantic. It would allow me to see it. Now, was my mom always perfect at this? No. Did my mom sometimes fill the gap in with something wrong? Yes. Okay. So with Nara Smith, I can see that her child getting cancer was devastating. I do question their decision to post some of it on the internet. But with that said, I think sharing in general is good. They shared one video in particular that I was like, I don't need to see this. But in general, it's good that they shared the diagnosis. It was a year later for other parents to know that anyone could have this happen to them, right? With that said, she does have a responsibility, I think, with her brand and how she shows up and how she influences people. I wish she would see that. But when you're a capitalist, and I think this is the problem that people don't realize, when you're a capitalist, you really are told this is what everyone is doing. It's normal. This is normal. There is no reason to think they're not capitalists. And if you are a capitalist, yeah, this is what you do. You build a brand, you play a character, there's a brand shift, there's a team, and you just move forward. There's no need to talk about ethics or morals or any of that stuff, because the ethics and morals are, we're building a business. That's why that 3 hour, that Kim Kardashian lady who does the 3 hour, time with her kids, that's all this bubble. That's all the marketing, getting ahead. Yes, there's haters. Yes, it impacts them. Yes, they are emotionally impacted. They're real people, guys. They're gonna be impacted by what you say. But in their brains, this is what everybody is doing. And this is just normal. And that's why this bubble is so exploitative.
Yeah, that she was never honest about the fact that she had a full staff in her house helping her out. She was never honest about the fact that creating content and making this bread from scratch was her full-time job.
She's saying Nara is basically telling us that her and Lucky get no help. Look, that might be true. I don't know how it could be true, but it could technically be true. It could technically be true. Okay, I could see it. It could technically be true that genuinely when Nara is filming, Lucky's with the kids, and she gets 8 hours a day to film or 6 hours to put everything together. I know single mothers on TikTok who make very amazing content in the room, in their bedroom, okay? And somebody's watching their kid. Maybe she doesn't have a whole staff. Maybe she doesn't have a nanny. Maybe she doesn't have those things. Maybe she doesn't, right? And that's the thing. I, gun to my head, would never take this bet. And I think you'd be a fool to take it as well, only because your life isn't worth it. Your life is worth more than a bet on Nara Smith's secret life. Do you know what I mean? Your life is worth more than that. But something is going on, and that's the point. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a whole team. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't have a whole team. But what I do know is regardless of a team existing, the brand is the brand. The brand is the brand.
That she was making millions of dollars off of, that she had nannies who would help her, that her entire life was not about waking up and baking bread. She had to send emails, she had to go to meetings, she had to be a businesswoman because that's what she is. The choice to omit all that was to send clear and obvious messaging. She did it so well because this is how good propaganda is done, that she left room for herself to have plausible deniability. So now years later, when the backlash to the kind of propaganda that she spread is coming in, she can sit here in her jeans and her t-shirt and say, I never said that. Well, I never told people to do that. I don't know what would give you the illusion that I would do that. I would never say that. I've always been working. Women should always work. I've always had a job. We're very progressive in my home. All of a sudden, even though she spent years building an empire off of giving the illusion that that was not her truth. That is how good propaganda works. And the fact that there are people in the comment section defending Nara Smith is proof that we have a media literacy crisis. We are so...
Absolutely. And also, Chad said, a capitalist really just becomes the product themselves. Exactly. Ultimately, I think there's a part of me that deeply empathizes with the fact that they feel like they're doing everything they should be doing, that it's a part of the game, that everyone said they should be doing this. And then the other side of us that says, what if I liberated myself from capitalism? This is why I said the other day when we had a conversation about liberating yourself before the world, you have to liberate yourself out of capitalism. I went through that phase myself where I was like, okay, this is how people make money. This is how you run a business. This is the goal. And I never did well with it. And I was like, I don't get it. Why don't I like this game? And I realized it's probably because I'm autistic. But I don't like it, And so I think the thing is that I think a lot of people are fine and comfortable with it because they just figure it's what everyone's doing. What else am I supposed to do? It's kind of like the Kevin Hart situation where everyone's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, why am I doing the dream? Why am I literally accomplishing every dream I've ever had? What are you talking about? Because to them, they're like, I'm doing it. I did it. I became the superstar. I became the person. To them, you're like a fool if you don't take these opportunities. You're like, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't believe you're not doing these things. What else am I supposed to be doing? And so it takes a lot to deconstruct from capitalism. It really does. Give yourself some credit. It's a big deal that you already came to the conclusion that oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. Because just think about how much of your life is freed up, not worrying about playing these capitalistic games, Okay, now, Chad says, I wish Nora would show what it actually looks like. Someone could make a horror series after the dark series of being a trad wife. Well, let me tell you this much too. The truth of Nara's life is probably not going to gain her as much followers. Like, I really think our regular, ordinary lives are just not interesting to people, nor are they inspirational. Like, Nara's whole shtick is to be a inspirational myth of what could be. And it only could be under the circumstances that we assume she is under for this reason. Because, like, in what reality are you doing this, you know? So yeah, it is interesting. I'm glad we talked about it. And I'm glad this creator made this TikTok, because I really do, you know, this is how I felt when I first reviewed Nara Smith. I was like, oh, she's just, the brand is trad wife, but she is running a business. That's why even my own history, my own women in the family, my mom would be like, oh, women were stay-at-home moms. And I'm like, wasn't grandma a professional seamstress? Didn't she literally make money sewing people's clothes for weddings and shit? Wait, didn't other grandma also work on the farm and also bring in money? Wait a second, didn't you also fucking work? And I was like, why does everyone identify as a stay-at-home mom or a housewife when you were only a stay-at-home mom for a short time while the kids were in school? You know what I mean? Why are all these conservatives playing stay-at-home mom while they all have second jobs at home? My cousin does this too. My cousin's like, oh yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I was like, don't you run a bakery out of your kitchen? Like, all these people that are like, oh yeah, don't you literally bring in money? What are we doing? What is this narrative we tell ourselves? You know? I'm telling you, everybody must labor for their community. Everybody. But a lot of these women are paying the IRS the taxes owed. You have a job. Okay? If the IRS, you owe money to the IRS, you have a job. Okay? You have a job. Okay? So all these conservatives need a fucking... the little mom and pop shops where the husband and wife run the shop. So you're a working woman. You work. We all work. Anyways, everybody must labor for their community, whether you bring in a paycheck or not. Okay. And that is the most joyful part of existence, is to be of service to each other in a symbiotic, healthy way. Okay. Not in an exploitative way, not in a taking advantage way, not in a I have to because of my gender way, right? In a true community effort to build a village worth living in, worth raising kids in, we all must labor. Which is, by the way, why the trad wife aesthetic is really pleasing, because it feels like, look at the reward I'm getting for my labor. I'm getting so much reward for my labor making bread, which, by the way, I love making fresh bread. I make it really regularly. Every 4 or 5 days, I'm making fresh bread because I make little vegan pizzas, and that's one of my snacks for the day. Girl, I'm already up to like 40 grams of protein today, so, you know, get my protein in for the day. Okay. The point is that I do think there's something that feels really Pinterest good about Nara Smith's life. And a big part of it is that she's pretty and she looks nice. And who wouldn't want to make baked bread in fancy clothes? I would, but I just can't afford to. And that's true for most people on this planet. We can't afford to. And that's why it feels like such a dangerous lie, you know? Ridiculous, I tell you. Okay, let's see. Let's read some comments. Chat says, let me see. Brittany, would it be fair to compare this concept to that situation where the people sit around and stand with when the beep goes in the office and everyone else is doing it? I'm not sure. I mean, look, even that experiment doesn't mean much. Like, again, I mean this so, like, this is the conversation for today. The part of radical acceptance on my level system that is level 4 is such a deep radical acceptance that the world is sorry. It's the realization. Level 5 is the acceptance, but level 4 is the actual realization that, like, the world is exactly the way we all want it to be. And when I say we, it means the majority. It means the collective. The world is a reflection of us as a whole. The world is exactly the way we are comfortable with it being. It is exactly the way it is because of who we are. And then that's just the human relationship to existence, okay? And I don't know how many times I have to say this because I know it's going to force some of you to feel very uncomfortable. But yeah, you too. Me too. The world cannot be the way it is without all of our participation. It just doesn't work that way. you know? And I think when we sit here and think we're the exception to that rule, we sound like these white women who are making excuses to not date bisexual men because they might have HIV. And you're like, hello? Do you not see how you're contributing to the way that the world works in terms of bigotry? Okay. All right. Let's take a small break. We'll come back. We'll talk about it. So much to talk about. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. All right, pausing in 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see. Let me see if there's an update. Come on, baby. Fine, whatever. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. Hold on, I'm gonna see. Sanchez. Alrighty then. It's because I went and said hi to Indiana. Oh, I love her. I love her. I love her. This is what I get for saying hi to Indiana. Okay, Chad said, I think it's becoming less common for people to sit together and eat. Maybe the appeal is time to eat mindfully. You mean the Nara Smith content and sharing the connection over food with your family. Chad said, that's a good point. I don't see a lot of people my age sitting for meals like we did as a family growing up. Maybe people miss that as well. You know, it really depends on the way you're raised, to be honest. Like, I can't even tell you, everyone's family structure is so different. But I grew up always sitting for a meal with my family. My dad always came home at a certain time every night. We always sat down as a family to have dinner, and they always asked us, how did our day go? What do we think about politics, philosophy, insert topic of the day here. And it was such a good experience. It was really a nice experience. But like my partner's family, they never sat down to have family dinner. Never. You can imagine marrying me was like almost a culture shock because I was like, you know, but it's nice because we do sit down to have at least one meal a day together, usually dinner. That's usually our meal together. but we only have one. Even though we live together and we're home all day with each other, our schedules are just different. So the only meal we really sit down for is dinner. But that's nice. Like it's nice. So it's one of those things where I'm sure a lot of people are watching through the screen and recreating things they never had, but also we forget to just make our own rituals and our own memories, I suppose. Like if we had kids, things would be different. We would just take into consideration how serious it is, their childhood. But as adults, like I think we also forget to enjoy the fact that we have such a unique opportunity to live such a custom life for ourselves, you know? Let's see. Chet said something also interesting. I thought maybe, you said, okay, but we do inherit some crazy generational accelerationist shit to our reality because we're born into versus like even 100 years ago. And also it's a blip. Our species haven't had civilization for most of our existence, etc. But I still get what you mean by all participating in our world right now as it is. Well, what I mean is you are both things at the same time. Yeah. Like you're a product of everything that came before you thousands of years ago, millions of years ago. And then you are also the product of what you are now. And I do think we are at a precipice in history right now. Like we really are at the edge of something interesting where for most of history, it feels like this maybe. And then right now we are just like in a blip of history where it's really, life is changing. I mean, even this conversation today about dating by men is out and open on the internet with our faces. It's just such a testament to differences, but yet bisexual men always existed. There was always conversations. It just looked different, but there are still going to be people who want to keep on this line, kind of call us the conservatives. But yeah, I do think like we're at a very interesting time. And I think we need to push for a better, more understanding world. So with that said, since we do want to push for a better, more understanding world, I don't have the live stream yet because YV Edit Lisa went live yesterday on TikTok and I did listen to it. I'm waiting for her to upload it onto YouTube, but because she hasn't uploaded it yet, I want to make this, talk about this with you today, and then we'll talk about that when she uploads it. But it was the most disgusting, bigoted, just internalized patriarchal conversation I have listened to straight women talk about in a long time who claim to be allies to the LGBTQ community. I am a queer person. I have fought and existed in a space for so long where whether it was a straight woman or a man or whoever, I've had to fight for my existence. I've had to qualify that I'm not a threat to you or your children. I've had to listen to people my whole life in West Asian bubbles and Christian bubbles talk about how gay people are disgusting, how they carry AIDS and diseases, how they're all pedophiles, only for two women to get on a stream yesterday, the Sovereign Woman and YV Edit, and say the most disgusting, bigoted shit in the name of misandry. Okay? So when, we talk about these conversations, I just want you to recognize we did not just pop into existence. Gay marriage has barely been legal for very long. And we are living in a world where women get to sit here and say, we're the biggest allies to the LGBTQIAs while saying the most fucked up shit about our communities. And by the way, our communities are global. We come in all shapes and sizes, all ethnic backgrounds. We are everywhere. Every pocket of the globe, the LGBTQIAs exist. Okay? So every time you say this, children are listening to you and they are internalizing that information. So if these grown women are saying, I'm not going to date bisexual men, which is the trending topic on TikTok, because they are carrying AIDS or diseases, or I'm afraid they'll never be satisfied with me, they're not attracted to me, they must be gay. Your children are listening to you. Your bisexual sons can hear you. Your daughters can hear you. This is why as a kid growing up, people were like, oh, you're either a lesbian or you're straight. Okay, joke's on you, I'm pansexual. But also, when we have these conversations, this is why it happens. Now, I do want to say up front before we get into these TikToks, straight women are not the reason men are DL. Cut that shit out. Straight women are not the reason men are DL. Patriarchy is the reason you're DL. Patriarchy is the reason why women are homophobic. Patriarchy, white supremacy, and capitalism. Do not forget that you are a product of these oppressive systems and you need to do the work to deconstruct them out of your consciousness. Okay? Women are not the reason men are lying about their sexual orientation. Women contribute to the social pressure that patriarchy instills in all of us to pressure our uniqueness into silence. But women are not the reason men are liars. But patriarchy trains men to be entitled, it trains men to be rapists, and it trains men to lie about their sexual orientation if it doesn't fit into the narrative of patriarchy. Which is why when your husbands get together for their white guy shoot deer in the forest events, they're all fucking, okay? So again, when we have these conversations, we have to recognize words we're using will sound similar, but they mean different things, okay? That when you say something is real or doesn't exist, you are speaking for 8 billion people on the planet, and we have to take that into consideration. And then when we give someone social credit, like praise for this thing they did, we should question the praise we're given. Let's start here, because before we get to the bisexual conversation fully, I need you to recap with me some stuff we've talked about before and why the words you use can matter, but why they're also bubbled. 8 billion people on the planet, and girlies, we're not even the center of the universe. There's non-human animals, trees, rock, all of these other elements of existing on a floating rock in space that are just as important as us. But for the sake of this conversation, we're going to center it on humans because we're in our egos. You remember this conversation?
Last week, a video went viral last week of a girl that got a voice note from a guy that she was dating, and he was basically saying, hey, if we're going to continue hanging out, I just want you to know that I am seeking a sexual connection, and if you don't want to explore a sexual connection, then we should probably just end this now, because a sexual connection is a priority to me. And this was presented as a negative thing, and the comments were littered with people saying men aren't lonely enough, etc., etc.
Okay, so she goes on to say that this is what consent is, right? That's not what consent is. And then Kat Black turned around and did research and found out, oh, it's a script. You sat here and thought this man was organically being consent focused, but we smelt his bullshit a mile away, and Kat Black went and found the receipts.
To see if there's that romantic spark, just for my own personal sake. I need to continue dating someone without knowing if we're compatible in that.
Okay, you hear this voice message? She's listening to a voice message from a different man with a different girl. That same message that the voicemail man sent out was basically a script, okay? So listen to me when I say this. For those of us who didn't need to know that, before Kat brought it to our attention, we knew, because we have the maturity, the wisdom, we've lived long enough to know this is a red flag. Now, I understand why this lady initially wanted to believe that this was consent, because she said from her past and her lived experience, this was something she would have really liked. The dilemma is when you're so oppressed, when you've gotten nothing out of life, the below bare minimum feels exceptional. It feels exceptional, which is why women who have a like if they've been targeted by abusers or women whose self-esteem is really low, the first guy who's even slightly nice to her, she'll think, oh my God, I've never met a man this kind. And he could be like kicking her in the middle of the night. And she's like, but at least he doesn't XYZ. Like he could be physically abusing her, but at least he doesn't XY. So that's the problem. So the question is, that's why we say the bar is in hell, right? The bar is in hell. Now, a lot of the problems with being on the internet, myself included, is that we are showing up as ourselves and as flawed human beings in existence, and we're using our personal trauma and background to explain these situations. And yes, even if you're an academic who's well researched and you have the science, which I do believe you should look at, there's also bias and prejudice and bigotry that's infiltrated even the academic spaces. We know this throughout history. So you have to have the discernment to know, like, when is this science white supremacist and when is this science good? When is this opinion something that seems like, oh, okay, you're really healed? And when is this opinion like, is this true? And then when are we going to make space for the in-between? What happens to the people that are just leaving conservatism and they need a space to be like, I hate men? I hear that, girl. I usually hate men as a system, patriarchy, but I remember being so wounded that at times I was like, I hate men, but not in the way that men hate women. Because remember, men hate women for being actually women. Women hate men for being assholes. There's a difference. A man thinks a woman under patriarchy is inherently born less good than him, less leadership than him, less smart than him. That's why they say men are good leaders and women aren't, even though that's not true. So remember that. That's really important for this conversation. Now, there's a creator called Unpunishable Woman, and there's this big brand on the internet of like independent girl boss women giving women advice, and this is titled Older Women Are Gaslighting Younger Women. Now, I will preface this with, this might sound like it's specific to the Black bubble, and maybe it is, but I just never see anything, and I mean this as a good thing, unique to the Black bubble that other communities aren't suffering from, because I do think people think Black people are like uniquely suffering in the world, like they're uniquely homophobic or uniquely patriarchal, but like there's nothing about Black communities that I see that very much differs from West Asian communities when it comes to living under frameworks of oppression. The bigotry towards Black people is worse. The anti-Blackness is global, but the issue in the Black community, quotations here, is not unique to Blackness. And that myth is really a big problem in these conversations, because a lot of the women we're going to see today are going to be Black women, and people are going to start saying, oh, see, Black people have a big problem with homophobia. Don't let Charlie Kirk do that to you, girls. Do not let Nick Fuentes do that to you. Do not let Trump do that to you. Do not let white people convince you are more homophobic than them. They are so fucking homophobic. Okay? And the worst part is I do sometimes see Black people on the internet say like, man, does the Black community have a real problem with homophobia? I feel like white people don't. White people are so homophobic. West Asian people are so homophobic. Do not let them convince you that your community is uniquely homophobic. Please. Okay? It's not going to get us anywhere. Okay, now, with that said, listen to this woman talk about unconditional love, which is one of my favorite topics, for just 2 minutes.
There's no such thing as unconditional love, especially amongst adults who are peers. There's no such thing as unconditional love. And this is a ruse that is often, sold to women, right? That you must be demonstrating unconditional love to people, even in the face of disrespect, harm, liberty, and unhealthy behavior. And one of the things that I see quite often is, of course, people who rely on holy texts, such as the Bible, to support this false premise that unconditional love should be the base and foundation of relationships, particularly between men and women. The truth of the matter is, the only people that usually attempt to, exhibit or demonstrate unconditional love is parents. Parents will love their children. They'll try anyway to love their children unconditionally. But when you're talking about adult relationships, whether it's friendships, sibling relationships, or indeed romantic relationships, unconditional love is a nonsense. Because why would you ask somebody to love you unconditionally without any conditions? Why would you want to be able to be in relationship with someone and there be no boundaries, no terms, no consequences, no level of accountability? That is an immature and somewhat concerning approach to adult relationships.
Okay, I just want to say here, look, I'm not a scientist, but the little research I've done is actually sibling dynamics and unconditional love are actually one of the most profound documented relationships in history. That the closeness amongst siblings is actually like profoundly close. So the idea that she brought in siblings as well is really weird to me as somebody who loves her 9 siblings unconditionally. But I will say my version of unconditional love coincides better with this article here. Okay, what's unconditional love got to do with it, right? Unconditional love, simply put, is love without strings attached. If you it's love you offer freely. But it also goes in to talk about like boundaries, right? Ignoring relationship issues is not unconditional love. Neglecting your own needs is not unconditional love. Tolerating abuse is not unconditional love. My dilemma with a lot of these bubbles that say things like unconditional love isn't real is them seeing unconditional love used as a weapon against people. I'm asking you to be radical about your love. I'm asking you to be so radical about unconditional love to learn the difference between unconditional love and actually being like, actually having boundaries. So, when I think about unconditional love, I'm saying I used to explain it like this, because I used to, I explain it like this. Unconditional love to me, and I don't choose it, by the way, right? I don't choose this, but unconditional love is like, let's say there was like a sea of people. No, let me draw it like this. This will take too long. Let's say there's like a sea of people. Okay. There's like all these people in a crowd. Somebody I unconditionally love, okay, they look like this to me. Like they're a brighter color. I can see them. Okay. And maybe people that I used to know are like a dimmer color, but still distinct. Like, oh, I can kind of see them. But the people I unconditionally love, they shine the brightest. And I'm like, oh, there they are. Those are my people. Those are my inner circle, right? To me, unconditional love, like any form of attachment, isn't something that I choose. It's something that I that exists, and it lasts longer than any bad fight. Like, I haven't talked to one of my brothers since 2019. My unconditional love for him hasn't changed. Nothing about the way I feel about him has changed. And I know the difference because when I dated people in my past, I used to love them, but the love changed because the relationship ended and my love changed. My love ended. That's the difference to me. Unconditional love never ends. Love has moments. So I will never not love my brother. I'll never not love my parents, right? I mean, there's so many people in my life that I unconditionally love that I have to be very open with boundaries and I don't talk to because they're too toxic. We're not getting along right now. Like, we don't have the same values, but my love doesn't change no matter what they do. I say this all the time. My siblings could shoot up a school and I would still love them because my love doesn't change what they do, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to call the cops and put them in prison. I think we have this idea that like, oh, I wouldn't love that person again. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, people I have loved before, I have definitely stopped loving them for less. Right? I think what I'm asking you to do is be so radical in your understanding of categorization that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That you don't say something like unconditional love doesn't exist and that it's silly and you're immature if you believe in it, when I'm telling you right now it's real and I'm sorry you haven't experienced it. I'm sorry you've never experienced healthy, unconditional love, but not only is it real, we have been robbed of it universally as a people globally. We've been so robbed of unconditional love that we mistake abusive relationships for love, think it's unconditional, and then we wonder what we did wrong. Okay? So when we have these conversations, I'm asking you to radically deconstruct patriarchy from your being, radically be anti-racist. I'm asking you to radically love yourself and others. Okay, when we talk about these straight women who say we're the greatest allies to LGBT people, we love them, but we don't want to date them, I am asking you to radically question yourself. When you say something like, oh, I just think like races should be with each other, and you mean it in like I need you to radically question this, okay? That's what I'm saying. When I see women fighting with such a passion for other women, I still need you to question where that's coming from, because then I see TikToks like this. Okay, are you ready for this?
Allowed to be scared of trans women. Women are allowed to be scared of trans women, and it doesn't make us horrible people. Seeing as nobody else has the guts to speak about this online because of the hate train, don't worry, I don't care about the little trans activists, so I'm gonna get into it. Literally since the beginning of time, women have been abused, manipulated, and controlled by males. You do not get to dictate a girl who's went through a life of trauma and abuse that they now have to accept that you are a woman and you are allowed in their space.
Sheesh! I'm sorry for the jump scare. Chat's like, wow, Brittany, thanks for the jump scare. I'm sorry about that. My bad. But, okay, that video is this video. That's about trans women. This one is about bi men. I keep playing this one over again because it's just such a good example of the double down.
As a woman, if you don't want to date bisexual men, you're biphobic. You're biphobic. Okay, and what about it? Okay, now what? And where do we go from here? I'll be autophobic, so I gotta be, because I don't want one. So what about it? You can't guilt trip me, use all the words I like to use on here to make me want a man that wants men. And what about it?
Like, with peace and love, girls lock in. Like, both of these women are doing this thing where they're like, we believe in women, choices, consent. You're not gonna force me to... What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you throwing people under the bus? Why are you because this is the thing. I say this all the time. Being a minority isn't enough. Otherwise, my immigrant parents wouldn't be MAGA. Being a minority is not enough. Otherwise, Leo Skeppy wouldn't be out here grifting with Jeffree Star. Being a minority isn't enough. Otherwise, Candace Owens wouldn't be Candace Owens. Being a minority isn't enough. Otherwise, you wouldn't have women out here with their big chest saying, I'm a bigot. That's why I'm saying, girlies, we look at the world and ask ourselves why it is the way that it is. Because of all of us, we are all contributing to how the world is. We are all absolutely responsible, every single one of us. And I'm saying that's why we have to work to do better and recognize that we just got to do less bad. Okay? So for them to keep equating trans women to men, for them to keep equating bisexual men to men who like men, forgetting that the bi part exists, meaning both men and women, or both men, women, non-binary people. Okay, Mind you, nobody is saying you have to date these people. In the same way, I wouldn't tell a white person they have to date a black person, but also it's kind of weird that you want to date a black person. You remember Clavicular was like, oh yeah, I just think like races should stick together. I just feel like, yeah, it's better that way. Why? Not that I would want a black person to have to subject themselves to dating Clavicular, but why Clavicular? Why? Why wouldn't you date a black brown person? Why wouldn't you date someone of a different race? It's like, I need you to explore that. Why? Oh, it's just like, I just think it's better. I just think it's my preference. If I hear the word preference one more time. Okay. This is a gay man who was saying that the biphobia affects gay men. We watched this the other day on stream. This is a stitch, though. I just want you to watch the first couple minutes.
Keeping men from coming out of the closet, but it's also perpetuated by women as well. Y'all also have a part to play in this, despite y'all having.
So the point he makes that I want to be cautious of is he talks about something that's hard to explain, but when women uphold patriarchy, yes, they're culturally contributing to the amount of people that lie. I always tell my parents, you made your children perfect liars because you taught us exactly the things we should never say in front of you because you would be bigoted. Gay people lying out of survival is not their fault. That's your fault. But gay people keeping something from you, queer people keeping something from you, a man, period, straight, gay, whatever, keeping something from you is just a liar when he knows that you don't have informed consent. Informed consent has to be the foundation of everything we do, but you can't ask people to have informed consent in a world where if they consent, you kill them. You make them lose their jobs. Informed consent when it comes to sexual activity, okay, but like these women are claiming it's coercive in rape if a man is bisexual and he doesn't tell them because they're afraid of getting HIV. Again, this is you can be bisexual and a virgin. You know you can be bisexual and have never been with a man. You know you can be gay and not have anal sex. Like, do you guys know you can be gay and not have anal sex? I hope you know this. Do you know this? Because it sounds like some of you don't know this. Like, do you know you can be a man and never have sex your whole life? Do you know you could be a 40-year-old virgin and it'd be valid? Like, do you know you could, even if you're a virgin, I say get tested before sex. Do you know you guys should also be getting tested? Queer communities test much more frequently than straight communities. Okay? So we have our problems, but your problems are worse. So, okay?
A marginalized identity doesn't negate you from being perpetuated as homophobia. That's not how that works. Therefore, if you perpetuate homophobic rhetoric that keeps men from feeling comfortable to come out the closet and be bisexual because they feel they will lose part of their dating pool, they're going to continue to be DL and continue to be in the closet. If they continue to be DL, there's less open and out bisexual men into the world. If there's less open and out bisexual men in the world, that means there is a smaller dating pool for also queer people and even gay people as well. So it in fact does harm everyone.
And this is why this discourse was so disingenuous to me. I mean, of course, it's coming from men, so why would it be genuine in the first place? It's always going to have an underlying, I would say, motive. Yeah, because why would men ever be genuine towards women? But anyways, this is why this discourse was disingenuous to me. Because what he is saying is that because straight women,
mind you, that's a gay man,
are not willing to be romantically involved, date.
And gay men do have to deconstruct their misogyny, okay? But women have to deconstruct their internalized misogyny as well.
Sleep, whatever, with bisexual men. Therefore, it's forcing men to be down low. Therefore, them being down low means they're not willing to come out the closet and be romantically involved and date gay men and other bisexual men. So it's dwindling their dating pool. Men's dating pool. Not ours, but theirs. So all in all, this conversation is about men and their wants and needs. Women are having to sacrifice, or women are having to do the work to make sure men are comfortable with their wants and needs. So if we're so willing to now start unpacking our homophobia, which I'm not even sure what their unpacking is. What is unpacking to y'all? To me to admit that I would choose to stay with heterosexual straight men and I'm homophobic for that? Okay, then I guess that's what it is. So what's the next thing? What is it? Because to me, you're unpacking because it's so aggressive and it's so like pushy. Your unpacking is for me to be okay with that. It's for us women who choose to stay heterosexual because we're not part of the queer community. Mind you, it's okay for the queer community to love, date, do whoever with who they want. But God forbid, a straight woman decides to date a straight man. God forbid that's her preference. But
okay, so we're going to talk about this in two layers. The first is this comment says, why aren't they asking hetero men why they don't date bisexual men? Because heterosexual men are interested in women and bisexual men are interested in more than one gender. Two, I think there's one part of this discourse no one's talking about, so I'll bring it up now. I am in a queer relationship. Even the one straight man that I dated was gender nonconforming. And he was pretty liberal. So he's very open-minded. He had issues, but for the time, he was very open-minded. Everybody else I've dated has been women, non-binary people, or bisexual men. Queer culture is beautiful, colorful, bright, joyful, unique. I would choose to be gay every time. It is true that if she wants a heterosexual dynamic with heterosexual expectations, she wouldn't want to date a queer person who would want a queer relationship. Bisexual men aren't always queer. You can be gay and not queer. You can be bisexual and not queer. You can be trans and not queer. I would prefer you were all queer because I think philosophically queer would be important. But she is missing the point that she could be with a bisexual man who exists in a very normie, heterosexual way. A lot of people don't even know they're bi till they're 40. A lot of people don't even know they're gay till they're 50. A lot of people don't even know they're lesbians until they're 90. You know what I mean? We live in a world where we're not free to be anything we are, so we don't even know. And what's worse is we're expected to know young. Like, oh, like they'll say, isn't the conversation that you can't change your orientation? Well, the question is not that you can't change your orientation, but on the Kinsey scale, some of you are lesbians and some of you are gay and most of us are bi. I'm telling you right now, the world is probably mostly bisexual, pansexual, queer. But because of patriarchy, we don't know the differences and we don't know how much more we have to unpack. And what's painful is to see women double down so hard on patriarchal talking points, religious talking points, but not even be religious. Like they're not even bringing up religion. A lot of these women are just talking about that they don't know bisexual men are into women. Right? Chet says, you've never dated a conservative, not to pry. I thought during your pro-life era, when you talked about another stream, you would have sure dated a conservative. Nope. The only time I dated a conservative was like a 15-year-old boy I held hands with when I was homeschooling, and neither of us could vote. We were 15. I've never dated a conservative. I told you guys, I left the conservative bubble very fucking early. Like, I know people think I left it late, but I didn't have sex till I was 22. I didn't even have my first adult relationship until I was 21. Like, not really. I mean, I held hands in high school and stuff, right? So like when I think about my life growing up, like, and by the way, like I was already pro-trans, pro-gay. I wasn't conservative the way Charlie Kirk was conservative. I was a log cabin Republican. I was like openly pro-gay, openly. This is what I'm saying. I know what it's like to grow up with Christian white women who say, Brittany, you fight for gay people an awful lot. Are you gay? It's like they corner you. You know how many old women cornered me? Middle-aged women cornered me as a young person, as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and said like, are you gay? And I'm like, whoa, that's a very personal question. Why are you out here asking me if I'm gay? And they're like, you just fight very openly for gay people. And only a gay person would fight this openly for gay people. I'm like, well, now I understand that some of these women do feel like they are with men who say they're bisexual, but they end up with men, therefore they're gay. Again, sexuality, okay? Sexuality is a journey. Some people, for the era in their life they're in, are gay, straight, lesbian, whatever. This is what I'm saying. We can't even get down to the real fun stuff because you guys don't even know what bisexual is. Okay? So there's just like this struggle. There's like this big struggle. And by the way, when I say it was a loud cabin Republican, it's not literal. Sorry. I don't mean to be autistic. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know what it means. Like, Chet's like, what does that mean? It's just something people say. Like, if you're gay and a Republican, you're a log cabin Republican. But I actually think there is a deeper meaning to it, but I actually don't know what it is because, girl, I did not care. That's what I'm saying. The way I talk about myself, I don't know how to downplay or appropriately contextualize my life, but I've never done anything 100%. Because I'm always like, all of this is bullshit. Like, I don't know how to tell you. Look at me. I say I'm BDSM. I haven't been to a dungeon in 8 years, girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's all spiritual for me. It's all in my heart. You know, it's all spiritual. It's like, none of this stuff is real. It's just stuff you do to solidify your relationship with stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, bisexual, pansexual, call me whatever you want, girl. I'm going to fuck love, build a life with whoever I am. You know what I mean? Or whoever I'm attracted to. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think these words for some of us are just so fluid and meaningless. Like, even the word atheist, I don't even know what that means, girl. You know, I know what you think it means, but like, sure, I'm an atheist. Sure, I'm this. Sure, I'm this. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's the hardest part about being a person who's so fluid in the world. This is what I'm doing right now. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are you up to? Because I'm doing this. Anyways, check this lady out.
All the bisexual discourse dials down to misogyny, because what I'm seeing in my comment section and other people's comment section is basically that bisexual women aren't really bisexual, they're just straight, and bisexual men aren't really bisexual, they're just gay. And all of that entire sentiment is rooted in misogyny and homophobia. It is. And there is this like sentiment that all bisexual women are actually just trying to look cool in front of guys. They're actually not bisexual.
See, this was my childhood. She's younger than me, I'm pretty sure. But that's my childhood. That's why they're like, Brittany, bisexual girls are just girls who make out with other girls to impress men. I was like, I don't want to be that. I guess I'm a lesbian. And then I was like, oh my God, I guess I kind of like men. Oh my God, what am I? I'm bisexual. Oh my God, I like non-binary people too. What am I? What's going on? Ugh. All these words are so annoying at some point. But at the end of the day, they're real for certain people. Certain people are not having a fluid experience. Look, some people are really gay. Some people are really straight. And everyone else, we're all in the middle, fucking around, flopping around like fish, okay? So lesbians are real. Gay men are real. The rest of us, somewhere in the middle.
You will dig up these women's past and be like, well, I've never seen you with a woman, so then you're not actually bisexual.
Oh, hold on. You don't even see her.
You don't know her. You don't fucking know her. And then for bisexual men, it's, well, if you've been with a man, you're gay. Even though this man has told you that he is bisexual and he is attracted to both men and women. And I don't understand why that's such a hard concept to grasp. You guys act like bisexuality isn't real because sometimes these people end up in relationships with people long-term or get married to people long-term that either are the same gender as them or the other gender. And you're like, well, then you're just gay then. You're not really bisexual then. Bisexuality is attraction. So if this person is attracted to both men and women, then that means that they are bisexual. And this leads back to my point of misogyny not just being harmful for women. A lot of it is harmful to other communities, but everybody just wants to argue so bad that they're not seeing that the real issue is that all of these people are misogynistic homophobes. All the bisexual discourse dials down to misogyny, because what I'm seeing in my comment section and other people's comment section is basically that bisexual women aren't really bisexual, they're just straight.
Oh, sorry, it's repeating. I was reading chat. Okay, next video.
People I've blocked in like
this part's really important. Okay, listen.
The amount of people
and that last girl was on it.
I've blocked in like the last 3 days that have continuously compared bi people and gay men to AIDS and saying how they'll give them STDs or they'll cheat. And also saying like proudly, like, this is why I don't support gay people. This is why I don't care about homophobia and stuff like that. Under a video where I said, systemically, straight women uphold the patriarchy and also are homophobic because, you know, we are all born under a homophobic society is actually really crazy. And also my point wasn't even about the bisexual men dating discourse. Like, I was inspired by it, but it was not about that. I did make a different video about it, but that video that like everyone was commenting like very gross homophobic shit under was not even about that actually.
The same comment sections that were like, it's biphobic not to date a bi man. And then people would be like, oh my gosh, and now they're saying it's transphobic not to date a trans person. And I'm like, and these are women. Like, okay, I expect this shit from conservative women. I do not expect this shit from people who say they're allies to the queer community. I'm sorry, do you not know what an ally is? But then this is why I tell you, I knew a liberal household, a friend of mine. His mother was one of those moms who was like, oh my God, I support trans people and gay people. And then she was like, but not my kids. Like, my kids can't be trans. And it's like, oh, I support all like unique lifestyles and relationships, but not for my kids. And that's what I'm saying. What are we doing here? You're half an ally. You're like the white people that love touching black people's hair, but you're not like in a KKK hood. You're like the Christians who are like, I think gay people should be in our communities, but like, I don't support gay marriage. I support civil unions. You're like the people that are like, oh, I think women should, work in the workforce, but naturally women make better mothers. That's what you sound like. You sound like you have 1 foot out and 1 foot in. You sound like and I'm just like, I need both feet in. Like, I need both feet in. Otherwise, like, I accept it and I see where you are and I hear you, but also not good enough. I need both feet in.
kind of overwhelming. I'm glad it's not really like affecting me emotionally, but it is kind of draining to see so many straight people that like hate gay people so much. And like, I know it exists, but
the irony too is a lot of these women, God knows, are probably not even straight. That's the irony. You know how many older women have said, you know, Brittany, we've all had crushes on our girlfriends. And I said, They're like, you ever hear that? You ever hear an older boomer tell you, we've all been attracted to our girlfriends? I'm like, A lot of these women, you know what I'm saying? Okay, you don't even know how many of these women are fighting for their life right now. These comments in 10 years are going to be full-blown lesbians, I'm telling you.
You know, just getting so many comments about it, and I have to block it. And, you know, I have to keep on monitoring it. I try to block it as soon as I see it.
And they were liking comments from lesbians who were like, they told me I was transphobic because I wouldn't date a trans woman. And they're like, saying the most transphobic shit in the comments. That's what I'm saying. Like, just because you're gay doesn't mean you're queer. Like, just because you're a lesbian doesn't mean, you know what I mean?
Because
hold on. Boop, boop, beep, boop.
Don't want other gay people to see that because that's fucking disgusting. But it's literally scary that how quickly people resort to homophobic talking points and homophobic rhetoric as soon as you ask them to.
I think the AIDS stuff was what threw me over the edge. Right when they start talking about STIs, I was like, oh, you fucking are horrible people. You're fucking evil people. How dare you bring up AIDS and HIV when you know how drastically our community was blamed for something that was not our fucking fault? Okay? How dare you talk about this in a crisis where Trump is defunding AIDS and HIV research to countries that we've been helping traditionally? Do you really think it's gay people alone who are going to be impacted by this? Like, when they see these news stories that happened 22 hours ago, do you think this is a story about gay people?
Well, the 26th Annual International AIDS Conference is underway in Rio this week, and the collapse of American and international funding for HIV/AIDS is on the minds of many. A new report details the impact of cuts to the program known as PEPFAR, which has been credited with saving over 26 million lives since it was established in 2003.
Like, just to be clear, do you listen to that news story and say, oh, that's a gay person problem? Or do you understand that we are saving women's lives? We are saving men's lives. We're saving your children's lives. Like, do you understand that HIV, anyone can get HIV? Anyone can get AIDS? Anyone can get STIs. Anyone can get, what are we doing? And I think a lot of these women do think because these men are lying and cheating that they're only getting it from other men. Listen, they're getting it from some men, but you know who else they're getting it from? Other women. They're getting it from heterosexual relationships. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about? So when we have this conversation, like, we need to very calmly talk about the science, the cultural expectations, how patriarchy keeps us from getting tested. I mean, girls, they're literally not letting your kids get a sex education in schools. You know what I mean? So your kids aren't getting sex education in school. You know, I've met so many adults in my life who think it's crazy that I ask for testing. And I'm like, you're crazy if you think we're going to have sex without testing. In 2026? In 2024? In 2016? You're absolutely crazy. You're absolutely mad to think we're not going to get tested. Okay? Get tested. Oh, I haven't been with anyone. I'm actually a virgin. Get tested. I don't give a fuck. Get tested. We'll get tested together. It'll be like a date day. We're getting tested. You know how many people I know who've had hundreds of sexual partners and never been tested? Straight people. Straight men who have had hundreds of female partners, never been tested. Okay? Chad says, Brittany, if you remember how HIV became so widespread, it first hurt the gay and black community and the government didn't care. It wasn't until the white lady got it. That's when they were like, oh, snap. Okay. No. Well, hold on. I don't know what history you're talking about, but it didn't first hit the gay community and black community. Like, gay people and black people did not give us AIDS. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the way that I would think about AIDS history. HIV, STIs, so many of these illnesses, they are not from communities of people. They're from practices of sexual behavior, often relating to other things that happened way before. When you associate them with communities, that is where the stigma comes from. That's why people think HIV and AIDS is a gay thing or like a black thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that it doesn't have to do with our communities. It disproportionately impacted our communities because funding was taken away and we weren't helped, but it didn't straight people were dying of it, but never had to deal with the stigma. They die of it every day and they don't have to deal with this. Well, not anymore because we have science, but like, you know, it's doing pretty good right now. But like, it's not a gay issue. It's not a black issue. That is white supremacy talking points. Illnesses don't have, or that's what they tried to do during COVID. That's why Asian hate went up, because they have to associate it with a group, right? You said that's not what I was saying. I wasn't saying they're from my community, but I understand how the language works. Yeah, and the language is important because it plays into how these women are reacting to bisexual men. Okay? So we have to be a little cautious because it's such a sensitive topic, but it really is just proof about how unsafe we are with each other. And look, every day I get older, this is what I mean. Like every day I get older, like I'm not a woman in this way. Like this experience of womanhood you're having, I feel very far from. Like when I first reviewed Elisa's stuff, people were like, oh my gosh, Brittany, do you like her? And I was like, I don't know. She seems fine. Like I had issues with her content originally, but this is why I have issues with her content, because she promotes narratives that throw marginalized people under the bus for the sake of I choose women always. Okay, what about gay women? Do you think this narrative of I don't date bi men doesn't impact gay women and lesbians and trans women? Like, why do you think your homophobia, biphobia towards bisexual men only ever stops at men? What are you doing?
Kind of unpack the biases that they have. And like also part of my point was that straight women don't protect queer women and they don't include queer women, and it is very isolating to be a queer woman around straight women. And they largely ignored that, and they instead called me male-centered and said, oh, I'm asking for male attention. No, that this conversation isn't about male attention. I literally don't give a fuck. But yeah, it's really interesting that everyone just ignored that point, and then it proved my point that y'all don't protect queer women at all and don't care about queer women, which is interesting. It's not like surprising, but
oh my God, were you in her chat yesterday? You said I tried to explain that in her live yesterday. Were you in her live? Oh, I was screenshotting it to the Discord. I didn't even get to watch all of it, but what I saw, my partner and I were so like, my partner had my back because I was getting so stressed listening to it. I was like, this is the most disgusting stream I've ever seen in my life. And my partner and I were shook. But then we're a queer couple. So like we're sitting here like, oh my God, all this work we're doing to combat patriarchy and white supremacy and all these things. And they are just sitting here together saying the most disgusting, bigoted things. And I'm like, oh my God, like we're so far from where we need to be, girls. We are so lost in the trenches. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Okay. So then I want to correlate this to a larger conversation. We'll get back to the bisexual topic, but this is from the Red Flag guys, waving the red flag. They had a conversation about the homophobia. So you remember we did Streamer University and Max and wardrobe, and that whole thing happened where Max wants to have diva and wear wigs and have whatever. Okay. Remember how we were praising the guys for being like fighting and combating homophobia and all that stuff? Okay, well, the waving the red flag guys, this part of the stream, I just want to play for you 2 seconds, really is the point I'm always trying to make about the world is a reflection of us as a whole. Every single one of us would absolutely commit a genocide if it worked in our favor. You say you wouldn't, but it's happening right now. You know, all of us are complicit in all the horrors of the world. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, would you really protect your gay kids? Would you really protect your trans kids? Would you really protect your neighbors? Like, would you really? Because the way people get on stream and talk, you know? So listen to this.
Really weird, and that psychology of human beings is so interesting to me. And I'll say this last thing before I shut the fuck up. That's also like part of me like that believes that human beings are extremely capable of being anybody is literally capable of being the devil. It's like turning into the devil that they don't want to be, or like, you know, the devil that they don't claim to worship, because of that thing that we have in us when we view and talk about other people at times.
Yeah, I think it's real easy to rationalize and be like, oh, I could never, or that's a thing that only these folks do. But it's like that push towards being a little bit nationalistic or a little bit fascistic or a little bit bigoted or whatever. It's like, that's a thing that everybody has capacity for. And you got to check in yourself and in the people around you. Because sometimes you're like, oh no, because I exist in some oppressed category, there's no way I could, you know, they'll sidestep and be like, no, I'm black man, woman, queer, whatever. I can't possibly be an issue to somebody else. Yeah, the fuck you can. You absolutely can. Like Nazis, they were just some regular people doing regular shit, got a job, and they were like, oh wait, that's all right. And they made a decision. So when these women get on stream, and I know I can't play it for you right now because it was a TikTok stream and I'm waiting for her to post it, but basically Lisa and the
Woman Observer. I think that's her name. Is that her name? No, the Sovereign Woman. Sorry, the Woman Observer. The Sovereign Woman. They were basically saying, like, I'm the biggest allies. We love the gay community. I just want to date you. And I'm like, okay, again, we're not saying you have to date us, but we're saying, like, that still is biphobia, homophobia. And it's going to impact everything politically. You can't say we're an ally for your rights and then spread rumors about how Lisa was saying stuff like, I don't want to be with a man who likes anal sex, because even though he says we don't have to have anal sex, I just know that's not true. And he's probably going to go cheat on me to go get it. That type of narrative. And I'm like, guys, just say you don't want to date a liar. You're acting like, girl, I'm going to tell you this right now. A lot of the stuff a lot of people do in their younger years eventually fizzles out, and their sex drives change as they get older. Life changes as we get older. And this narrative they kept pushing that, like, I'm never going to be enough for a bisexual man because I don't have a penis. Again, not all bisexual men have anal sex. Again, not all gay men have anal sex. Again, okay. And also, like, this is the question I always got, which I really hated. Like, oh, if you date this gender, are you going to miss this gender? I am not falling in love with people's genitals. I am not falling in love with people's gender. I am falling in love with them. And I don't know why you think, even if they were associating gender with genitals, that bi people can't be monogamous. Because, like, again, the amount of layers of biphobia that has to go into this narrative for it to work in your head. So first, it's the promiscuity statement. Now they're saying, no, it's just because they're men. They're saying, no, it's not because they're bi men. It's because they're a man. Okay, so bioessentialism. So you're a bioessentialist. No, they're socialized as men. Okay, so unsocialize. Deconstruct the socialization. Just like you're deconstructing your socialization as a woman. Deconstruct it. And you know what I'm saying? They're acting like every single man on this planet isn't going through a gender deconstruction journey, or like can't do that. That's the problem. What? Okay. I think his name is Rashim. Rashim. Hold on. Let me see if his name. I haven't learned his name yet. See, they don't. What? Guys, you need to put your name. How am I going to learn your name if you don't say it every single video? This is why my name is in my video, so people know my name. You know? And even then, girl, okay, I don't know if his name is Shahim. Either way, he's gay. I love his takes. He said, this person said, anyways, dating isn't a civil rights issue. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Dating isn't a civil rights issue? You mean people fighting to get interracial marriage legalized isn't a rights issue? You mean us fighting for gay marriage wasn't a rights issue? How dare you exist in the world and be an adult and not know dating is absolutely a civil rights issue? Hello?
It was atrocious, but
that's his comment. He's about to school him.
It kind of proves my point that y'all are not as smart as y'all think y'all are. First off, let's define what a civil right issue is. Civil rights are enforceable guarantees of equal social opportunity, personal liberty, and equal protection under the law. They ensure all individuals are free from discrimination based on personal characteristics like race, gender, religion, or disability. The reason I said, yeah, dating is actually a civil rights issue is because there are literal cases in the Supreme Court that fought for the ability for people to date how they want. Being gay was not always legal in this country. It was actually
Chat's confirming Shahim based on the name. Okay, Shahim.
criminalized. Women couldn't even divorce their husbands at some
Exactly.
point. Like, what are we talking about here? Love and View Virginia is a thing for a reason. There's a reason why the Supreme Court had to rule that gay marriage is
Like, being bisexual doesn't make you a liar, but being a liar makes you a liar. Being a man doesn't make you a liar either. But I do think patriarchy trains us to be a liar regardless of gender, because we're fucking raised to be fake ass bitches. And that's why we got to be less fake. But also, authenticity deserves to also be shared with wisdom and discernment. So we need to deconstruct fakeness and also deconstruct authenticity and what it looks like. Show up to your community with kindness, love, and transparency. And also recognize that your community isn't always the safest village. And this is the problem with everybody pretending like they're safe for everybody else. These women proved to me last night that they are so unsafe for the queer community. They are not allowed to come to our events. They cannot go to Pride. They cannot show up at the club. You are banned. You are banned from every gay event because of the way you acted on the stream last night. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is why people, you can't come. This is why you can't hang out with us, because this was such a disgusting display of like entitlement from these women. I will show up at the feminist rally with you. I will be with you to fight for whatever rights, insert here, but you cannot. How dare you come to our events, reap the benefit of our community, talk about how you're the biggest ally, you love to party with us. Oh, you love to party with us, but we're so disgusting you won't touch us? We're so disgusting that even though you're attracted to a man and you have 6 amazing dates with him, the moment you find out he's bisexual, he's off the table? Okay.
Legal, and it's the law of the land. For how long, girl? I don't know. I can't promise you that. My point in this is like, yes, these things are actual civil issues. They are the ability for people to exist freely. What this has to do with this conversation, I don't know. You're the one who brought it up. What I will say is it's so ridiculous that y'all don't understand like how important the dating and romantic aspects of people's lives are. It is actually one of the biggest facets of people's lives. Ask me how I know. Ask me what I do for a living. Ask me what I studied. However, what I'll say is I made this original video like talking about biphobia and dating.
Yes, chat says you want to party, but you don't want to fight. Exactly.
Because I'm trying to police people and how they engage with people on an interpersonal level. I literally started by saying, date whoever you want, but I'm explaining why these beliefs and practices are rooted in the biphobia that was asked about in the original video from Booney. I can say it in the kindest way possible. I can break it down in the nicest way possible. I can tell y'all can date whoever y'all want, that this is not a reflection of you as a person. Your behavior and your choices may be rooted in this thing, but that doesn't have to reflect on you as a person. Nobody's policing y'all, telling y'all what to do, and y'all will still come to the conclusion that everybody else is the problem because you don't feel comfortable addressing and analyzing introspecting about what's going on internally and why you're making the choices you're making. Y'all are afraid of yourselves. Y'all are afraid to touch your shadows. Y'all are afraid to examine why you make the choices you do. Y'all are afraid to examine your roles in society, what is influencing you, your choices, your behaviors, and that's not my problem. I cannot continue to handhold y'all to make y'all not be afraid to just analyze a simple choice that you're making. Even when people are telling y'all do not have to date bisexual men, like y'all are still upset because you don't want to address.
That's what Lisa and Sovereign was pissing me off last night because Lisa kept bringing it back to this argument that nobody is making. Lisa kept saying, you're just policing women's bodies. I'm a misandrist because I 100% believe women should not be policed. Nobody is telling you who to fuck. Nobody is telling you who to date. Nobody is saying to date a bisexual man. We're saying your reasoning for not dating a bisexual man is rooted in biphobia. And the fact that they refuse to get this is so fucking annoying. It is the reason why the world is suffering. It's the reason we're all such a fucking mess. I feel like I was back home in my conservative family's home. I might as well have been sitting with MAGA. I might as well. Every point Lisa made, every argument Lisa made, I have heard from my Christian parents, my Catholic parents. Every single thing Sovereign said, every single argumentation I had heard my whole life growing up in the church. Hello? Amazing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Dress like that. This may be rooted in ismophobia. I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, I have my own shit that's ism.
And Sovereign kept saying that because chat says nobody wants to be called homophobic or racist. Sovereign kept saying, I'm not biphobic because biphobic is like a fear or an anger or bitterness, and I don't have that. Like, I love gay people. I'm like their biggest ally. I'm like their biggest fan. Like, I don't want to be called biphobic. And everyone's like, but that is biphobia. This queer activist came on. I don't know her name. She did great. Oh my God. She was so cathartic. I don't know her name, but I was like, oh, thank you, God. This queer activist came on. She said it so perfect, so beautiful, so exact. She said everything that I was like, you tell him. And I was just like, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. And this is the problem I'm having. And it was a black woman, a black queer woman, which I think is so important because she has that intersectional, that lived experience. And the chat just could not hear her. The chat just could not get what she was trying to say because they're like, so you're policing me. You just want to tell me who to date. You don't know. I'm not. You just want to. She was like, no one is telling you who to date. I am just saying, if you don't question your why. Oh, her name is Cute Theory. Thank you, chat. Her name is Cute Theory. She did great. Was beautiful. Fantastic. I didn't get to hear everything, but what I heard, fabulous. Okay? And it was the fact that they couldn't even hear her. And again, this is why I say you don't have free will. Because if you had free will, you would listen to the facts and you would change your mind. But it's embodied. So Lisa and Sovereign, they're having a very logical, but it's not click. It's not an embodied understanding of actually being an ally. It's not an embodied understanding. It's not a radical embodiment of actually being pro-LGBTQIA. It's oh yeah, they're cool over there. Oh, they're cool for a weekend party. They're cool. It's not an embodied, because think about what kind of parents they're going to be. If either of these people become parents, think about the parents they're going to be. Think about the aunties they're going to be with their nieces and nephews, hear them talk. What if the children in your life heard this conversation? What are they supposed to take from this conversation as children? That I'm dirty, disgusting, that I'm diseased because I'm bisexual?
phobias that influence my decisions every day. Do I think that makes me a bad person? No, it just means it's something that I need to probably analyze and work through. That doesn't mean I have to change any of my behaviors. I should at least be willing to accept and acknowledge where those behaviors are coming from. Why are y'all so afraid to do that? Not my monkey, not my circus. I don't really give a fuck. But all I'm going to say is I can only imagine how y'all interact with the world outside of the internet, because clearly y'all are just not very pleasant to talk to and not very analytical of like yourselves. That doesn't make for like a really good person to be around. And I hope that one day that all y'all can go and get the therapy y'all need, or like find a community you need that can probably tell you like, hey, just because you're doing something, it doesn't, like a behavior doesn't really mean that you're a bad person. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all. And y'all think that somebody's attacking y'all, but like y'all are genuinely saying some stupid shit in response to this because y'all are being defensive because you think somebody's like attacking y'all. Nobody's attacking y'all. Y'all are just insecure, no shade, because it takes a certain level of insecurity to be unwilling to face yourself. Don't know what to tell you, sweetie. Don't know what to tell you.
And again, I understand that from a perspective where you're fighting patriarchy, you're inundated with these messages from men, you're red pill, you hear Myron talk, Andrew Tate, you hear all these fucking stupid loser men, and you just think like, Jesus Christ, you have all these lived experiences with shitty men. You know, you just think to yourself like, I don't want to deal with men, even bisexual men, any gay men, anything. But that's why I say like women are so trapped by the patriarchy. They've internalized it so deeply. They think it's their idea. And I'm saying, is this your idea or is this trained into you by patriarchy? It takes so much to deconstruct. It takes so much to do the work. And I do think sometimes when you're busy making your whole brand, your whole focus, like fighting patriarchy without the intersectionality aspect, I do think you end up falling into sort of like this gender war trap of like bioessentialist argumentation. So I would definitely like just proceed with caution, right? Now, this plays a role in a recent Nick Fuentes interview that happened where Nick Fuentes is like a quarter Mexican, okay? His dad's half Mexican. The other part, he's like Irish or some shit. And then his mom is like something white. So like he's a quarter Mexican, but his last name is Fuentes. And he shares this story, and just listen to this.
What? You think I pass as a white Anglo-Christian?
Well, I not only think you pass, I think you identify as it. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. No.
When I was in Model UN, I was entering high school as a freshman. They looked at my name on the roster without knowing me. And they told me this after the fact, the leadership of the club. They said, oh, we thought you were just some Mexican kid, so we gave you a bad committee assignment.
Wow.
But see, I heard that and I laughed. I said, that's funny. You know, whereas a lot of people would say, oh, that's traumatic. I'm a victim of racism. You know, I think that's, you know, it's just a human thing.
Yeah, I always felt like growing up as like a white kid in America.
What if you went, what if you were and identified as being Mexican, and they came to you and they didn't tell you that's the reason that they gave you all the bad committee assignments?
That would be unfair.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm just saying.
That's the whole point, isn't it?
And
so
you
may find it funny because you pass as a white Anglo-Christian.
Do you think I pass?
What?
You think I pass as a white Anglo-Christian?
Well, I not only think you pass, I think you identify as it. Yeah.
I didn't watch this interview because Channel 5 can suck it, but, and this is disgusting. Biden, what's his name? Hunter Biden. All of them can suck it. But listen, this is, and we know this with Clavicular. We know it with Andrew Tate. We know it with Fuentes. We know it with all of these boys on the internet who are deeply fighting their demons and not getting the help for it, that they're not doing the work. I just hate to see women do the same thing. Not because I think women are on a pedestal and they're like better than men. It's just that statistical probability of when you're marginalized and you're doing the work, you technically have a better possibility of being like less. Like these women are aware of patriarchy. They're fighting against it. Okay, love that. They're not like trad wifing their way through existence. And at the same time, you cannot be patriarchy at its own game. Just like you can't be capitalism at its own game. Okay, you can't. You can't like beat these systems at their own game. You can't white supremacists like beat it at its own game. And that's what these men are doing. And we see it in them. We see it so clearly. I don't know how these women don't see it in themselves. Okay. And that's what I'm saying about these girls. Like, it's so sad to see girls that you're just like, come on, you're so close. And then they just double down on the teaching and the framework they've been given. And it's like, they're so in survival mode. They really are just so desperately in survival mode. You know what I mean? Chess said, why is he still being platformed? Because he gets those views. You know, these fucking capitalists only care about their views, bro. You know? Chess says, Brittany, can I ask, because I do agree, just because you do a good thing, that doesn't make you a bad person. What would a fair categorization of your being a bad person? What would be a fair categorization of your being a bad person? Wait, because I do agree, just because you do a good thing, that doesn't make you a bad person. Do you mean if you do a bad thing, that doesn't make you a bad person? Or if you do a good thing, it doesn't make you a good person? Look, a bad person, good person are just words we put in place to explain an overall characteristic of a person, something that they either do once that defines their character overall or something they do many times that defines their character overall. Whether the one thing they do one time is like, wow, they were a really good person actually, or wow, they were a really bad person actually, or oh my God, look at their character over time. Bad and good are subjective terms we put in place to describe an observation we're making about a person. Okay? Look at this video. I love this video. Love this girl. This is Yvette. Straight women dating bi men.
People, and it's as simple as this. If we can recognize that as Black people, we are typically raised to be homophobic, especially if we are religious.
Pause. Not unique to Blackness. Okay, for non-Black people in the audience, this statement, she's talking to Black people for Black people. Just same way I would as a queer person talk to other queer people and we would mention the problems in our communities, but they're not unique to our communities. So if I say gay men, you need to figure out your fucking racism. That's not unique to gay men. I'm just calling out my community. But like Black people being homophobic and being racist homophobic is not because they're Black. Because Nick Fuentes and all these white boys are more than happy to be homophobic. They just like to pretend that they're not as homophobic as brown people, but they are, which is why they're able to weaponize Islamophobia. It's why they're able to weaponize like Arab stereotypes against these communities because you buy into it. You think Arabs are more homophobic than white people. Am I white enough for you? I'm telling you right now, West Asians are just as racist and just as homophobic as everybody else. Okay, so.
Right? Across the diaspora, right? We are raised to be homophobic. It wouldn't be a far-fetched to understand that the homophobia has seeped into why you wouldn't consider a bi man someone that you would date, right? And it's not that anybody's trying to force you to date a bi man, but it's just understanding the root issue as to why you have this preference or you don't want to date a bi man and analyzing how that may show up in other areas of your life so that you can just essentially become a better person that's not bigoted. Nobody's forcing you to date bi men, but I think it is like anti-intellectual to then go from, well, you guys are trying to force me to date a bi man, or you're trying to take away my autonomy, or this is grape culture. That's when it's like, all right, come on, guys. Like, let's be honest. The same way a lot of non-Black people engage in racist ideology or believing in stereotypes or racist behavior or discriminate against Black people and engage in anti-Blackness, they don't want to be called racist, right? Because it's uncomfortable for them. But they do have that ideology. We are all raised in a white supremacist society. We all have to unpack anti-Blackness. So why would you not think that you, as a cis heterosexual woman, would have to unpack your homophobia or your biphobia, right? We have to name these things so that we can grow from them, whether or not you ever date a bisexual man or not, okay? But y'all.
Because again, children can hear you. Children can hear you. What if they were teachers? What if these were teachers and these were their students listening to them? Like, are we a village or are we not a village? Are we a community or we're not a community? Is this not a collective effort or is it not a collective effort? Kids can hear you.
Y'all are trying to run away from the plot while running right into it. Because saying that somebody's trying to force you to do something, no. And I don't know if there are comments of people doing that, but I don't think that's the case. It's just, let's recognize where this comes from and let's see how we can grow from this ideology so that it does not show up in other areas of our life. We can be better people. That's all.
And I think this is just so important. Okay, she makes a secondary video that I want you to watch in a second. But this is just so
interesting.
This is so important because it is that simple, but it's really hard to get. So this is why I say, girlies, you need to give yourself more credit for all the work that you do, because we forget how hard it is for other people. Like, look at us looking at all these women, all these smart, talented people, all these more than capable people come to the stupidest fucking conclusions. And they're so hard-headed that everyone's like, hello, here are analogous situations. And they're just like, nope. And you're like, the world really is the way that it is. And we don't have as much free will as we did because, like, what is holding us back? Our traumas, our stories, our feelings. We're feeling beings, all of us, every single one of us on the planet. If it doesn't feel right, we're not going to like it. And so we have to change the way we feel about things, not as a way to trick ourselves into allowing abuse or bad things to happen, but instead to change our whole perspective on how we feel about existence itself, being brought into the world, like, you know, existing on a planet that's shared. And so it's really, really hard to be introspective, extrospective. It's really fucking exhausting, right? So it is just sad. Like, I don't want any of these women. And I think this is why everyone's been so fucking annoyed and disappointed, because so many people have said, man, I had to block so many people that I thought were allies, so many people that I thought were mutual, so many people that I thought I respected. I think that's what's so for me so frustrating about Lisa and Sovereign is just like, hey, or Sovereign, like, hey, you know, like, can we please? You know, I don't want to have to block all these people. Like, every time someone's like, Brittany, can you collab with them? Can you reach out to Lisa? Can you do a collaboration? Is this, you know what I'm saying? How am I supposed to build community? How am I supposed to build community with bigots? How? Okay, check out this. It says the religion would determine if they deem queer people as sinners and those who should be ashamed. It would be why the name call dehumanize them. Okay, that's what's so interesting about this whole discourse. Why aren't people very religious? Why are all the people coming out with this rhetoric not even religious? What is that? Chat says, can someone link me to the conversation? It's not up. It was a live TikTok. You either saw it live or you didn't. I'm waiting for Lisa to upload it to her YouTube channel. You were either there or you weren't. So you're either chronically online like I am or you missed it. So that's the other thing is, like, Lisa better post that video. She better post it so we can critique it. But it was live on TikTok and it won't let me find it anywhere else. So I'm waiting for her to post it. Okay, look at this.
Because as a person who, this comment is so interesting because as a person who was raised religious, yes, religion would determine why people would not date a bisexual person because their religion would deem homosexuality a sin, right? And they would deem a bisexual man, even though he is attracted to women, that him being with a man would deem him as a sinner, and their homophobia would obviously determine whether or not they would date him. So that is true.
Ooh, Chat says someone once told me that everyone is religious, not everyone believes. You know, everyone is unlearning, that's for sure.
But at the same time, as a person who grew up in church,
or not,
there are so many women who are with gay men or bisexual men in the church. Like, we have women in churches who date pedophiles. So I kind of agree with you on that. But I would love for you to expound on, if you would like, what for you as a straight woman makes a bisexual man incompatible with you. Because if he's sexually attracted to women and you're a woman and he's sexually attracted to you, what would make him, just because he's bisexual, be sexually incompatible with you? And you mentioned something about not being fluid and not really being attracted to sexually to most men. So do you feel like you are like on the spectrum of being asexual?
First of all, I don't know what this woman does for a living, but that was beautiful. Like, she's so like, so tell me about that. Like, you know, are you like on the spectrum? Like, how's that going? Asexual? Like, she's just like very, but I would like to know the answer to that too, you know? So Boo Boo Foo with the super chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. It's like curiosity and asking questions and like, have you thought about it? And like, you sure about that? And like, this is a skill to have these conversations, to have these back and forths. Let's watch this one next.
You know what? Okay, I get it now. So from what I'm gathering, there are a lot of Black heterosexual women who believe that being heterosexual means that they are attracted to heterosexual men. When being heterosexual simply means you are attracted to the opposite gender, opposite sex, right? We won't even get into gender not conforming, binaries. We won't get into any of that. But simply that is what that means. That is why heterosexual men are attracted to bisexual women and trans women too, but y'all don't want to talk about that. We know y'all not ready to talk about that. But I'm realizing that what Big Sister General said, there's some education that needs to be done. Okay, I can see that now. That a lot of y'all think that being heterosexual means that you are attracted to heterosexual men. Maybe then there needs to be like a name for that.
So that is true. Look at this comment. Well, educate us, Big Sis. Give us what we should be labeled for not wanting a man who sucks the same thing we suck. Because we thought saying heterosexual woman wanting a heterosexual man was it. Clearly, we're all stupid bigots. They have to open our legs to every man on the planet. She replied, her name is Ashley Yvette. She replied, I think you might benefit from therapy, not gonna lie. Oh, damn. But that is the narrative I kept seeing in Lisa's chat. It was driving me crazy. The narrative in Lisa's chat was exactly this. And Lisa was saying it herself. And I was like, what are you saying?
Maybe I'm not privy to that information. I will do my research and come back. But being heterosexual means that you, as a woman, are attracted to men, which would include bisexual men, right? Who are attracted to you, whatever, pansexual, whatever. But a lot of black women simply believe that that just means that they are attracted to heterosexual men. Now, like I said, the way that we...
It's not just black women. Okay, growing up in Assyrian households, if you were like bisexual, they'd be happy if you ended up with a woman because that would prove you weren't gay. But if you ask them, like, would you be with a man who's with another man? They'd be like, oh, no, like he's like gone too far. Like they would also mirror the same sentiment.
was raised, especially up in the church, you know, there are certain ideas that we have around sexuality.
And I just keep saying that for my non-black audience. I understand she's speaking to black people, but just for my non-black audience, I got to repeat it.
That are limiting. And there's a lack of education, sex education within the black community that's also very limiting. And it's showing up in the way that you guys are responding to this conversation, how you guys are showing up in comment sections, how there's a lot of information that is being thrown out. That's just taking some time to grasp, okay? Okay, but I get it now. Y'all have a different meaning for heterosexual. That's actually not the meaning that it is.
Yeah, so, okay. Exactly. I think the dilemma too is I think the women have expressed that they're scared that men will leave them. And this is why I say with lesbians. If you don't date bi women because you're afraid they're going to leave you for men, biphobic. That's your fear speaking. That's fucked up of you. If you're a lesbian who's like, I want to vibe with lesbians that are like me, like I want a stud for stud relationship or a D for D relationship or lesbian relationship, fine, valid. There's a culture there that I'm not a privy to as a pansexual person. Vibes, you have fun, girls. Okay, as a black person, if you want to date another black person specifically because you want that specific like cultural vibe or whatever, vibes. If you're Assyrian, you want to date another Assyrian person, you know, vibes. But if you are living your life saying, I'm going to recognize that I'm falling in love with a person that doesn't fit my narrative, recognize that I'm attracted to this person that isn't fitting my narrative. I recognize we have shared values, but it isn't fitting my narrative. I'm going to reject it because some internalized, some fear, some bigotry. What are you doing? That was the conversation that people were having with this. You're on a date with a guy. You're really vibing with him. You're attracted to him. Your values are the same. He happens to mention he's bisexual and the girls are like, I don't want him. Why? Because he's bi? If you're a lesbian, you're on a date with a girl and you are vibing and everything is fantastic. And then she goes, oh yeah, I'm bisexual. And you're like, oh, I don't date bisexuals. Why? What does that mean? You know, what does that mean? It's like, well, at that point, you know, why not? Now, again, no means no, complete sentence. You never have to explain your no. But in a space where we're doing philosophy, in a space where we're doing politics, in a space where we're supposed to be better, in a space where you're advocating to fight against patriarchy, I'm going to assume if you expect these men to ask themselves why, you would also be asking yourselves why. Why do you have a higher standard for the bigots you are combating than you do for yourself? This is what I'm saying. People get to a very specific level, Hassan Piker, where they feel like, oh, I did all the work, I don't have to keep going. You always have to keep going. Out of all the people who should keep going, it's the ones who say they're on the right side of history. No, I don't expect bigots to keep going. I expect them to double down and get stagnant. But the fact that you are saying that they, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have the standard for myself higher than anybody. Realistic, but higher. Because I'm claiming to be educated. I'm claiming to know better. I'm claiming all these things. You know what I mean? Okay, next video. This reminds me of this scene from The Devil Wears Prada, where these women are, I'm the biggest ally for gay people. I love them, but I don't want to date them. And they go, this woman earlier who said, let's go back to her really fast, just for the vibes. This one.
Y'all can have preference for anything you queer community. Mind you, it's okay for the queer community to love, date, do whoever with who they want. But God forbid, a straight woman decides to date a straight man. God forbid that's her preference, but y'all can have preference for anything you want to do, mind you, okay? Mind you, all in all, this whole unpacking and being willing and being open-minded and admitting you're homophobic or saying, yeah, I guess I'll date a bisexual man. You know what's crazy about it is that's just like the first step, right? What they would truly deep down, I feel like it is, they want us to be able to be willing to be in open relationships, because a lot of these DL men and these bisexual men, they don't want to romantically be involved with a man. They want to get married and have kids with another woman, because that's a patriarchy. That's what they want. They will sleep with and deal with like homosexual and bisexual men, but they're going to always choose a woman in the end. But since they're going to choose a woman in the end, it lessens their dating pool. So what they want is for us to be okay with them to also be with them, be with the men that we are dating or we're.
Listen, I don't know who you're all dealing with, respectfully, but you are obviously in a bubble that the queer community isn't dealing with necessarily. And this is what I'm saying about being queer and being in different bubbles. Like, for a lot of us, we're like, who are you talking about? She obviously has a lived experience. I do think 8 billion people on the planet, I'm sure she's going through something. If I was in the bubble she was in, I would think, how do I liberate my bubble? I don't know what bubble it is, but she must be in a bubble where she's seeing that happen, because she must be reinforced somewhere. And I'm saying, this is how I've always felt my whole life. Hey, I'm trying to offer you something that's completely liberatory. Do you want to be liberated? And they're like, no. And they hit the cupcake out of my hand. I'm like, okay, but like, I figured it out. Do you want to be liberated? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, but like, you can seriously not feel guilty over masturbating. And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, but you can feel good in your body and you don't have to get skinny. No. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want, you can. And they're just like, no. And I'm like, okay, if you don't eat the cupcake, you don't have to eat the cupcake, but you're stupid for not eating the cupcake, because Jesus Christ. Okay. Why are you sitting here in this spiral of hell and calling it a good life? It couldn't be me, girl. Couldn't be me. Now, this is what they sound like, though. These women, Lisa, and all these women who are like, I'm fighting the patriarchy. You know, I'm not a bigot. I'm not biphobic. You know what I mean? I'm not this. This is what they sound like to me.
I'm still learning about this stuff and
this stuff?
That's what they sound like. Anne Hathaway says this stuff like she's not impacted. And Meryl Streep has to lecture her, be like, oh, you think you exist outside of this. You think you chose that ugly ass blue sweater of your own free volition. You forget that we picked it out in this room for you a year ago, girl. Like, we assume that we exist on a planet where we're not impacted by things that happened years ago. So then here is these women on this stream yesterday just talking about how, like, we're not bigots. We love the gay people. We just want to date bisexual men for this reason. Well, lecturing people about deconstructing patriarchy. Well, on one side of their mouth, they want to destroy patriarchy, and the other side of their mouth, patriarchy. What? That's what I'm saying. Deconstruct your own internalized patriarchy. Women uphold patriarchal standards, one of them of which is femme men are gross, gay men hold disease, and gay people are okay as long as they're far away from us. As long as it's something that is done in secret. You're so afraid of these DL men. What do you think put DL men in? What do you think made DL men? If not patriarchy. Shame. Fuck all of you who said I was wrong about shame. This is what you get out of shame. Good job, everybody. Good job for shaming the world for being who they are. Good job at shaming queer kids. Good fucking job. I have told you time and time again, shame doesn't work. This is what shame gets us. Is it working yet? Do you like it? Is this the world you want? Did it dismantle white supremacy? Is Trump out of office? Are your kids liberated? No. Now, I found this person on TikTok during this journey. This is a they, them, fat sapphic bro. Love it. Very interesting. For the I'm not a man for the 4th millionth time. Listen to this.
Men cannot have PCOS, point blank, period. Well, first of all, I'm not a man for the 4 millionth time. I was assigned female at birth. Y'all just see facial hair and don't understand that trans women are not the only kinds of transgender people. I am a non-binary transgender person, so I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've had it most of my life. Also, men actually can get PCOS, like cisgender men. The emerging research is showing that cisgender men can have PCOS symptoms, so that's an interesting thing that science is in the middle of researching and trying to figure out more about. Also, it's not called PCOS anymore, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's now PMOS.
Now, okay, their journey is really interesting, and I'm so glad they're sharing, because the more you know. I have seen women say, well, we can't even have anything. We can't even have PCOS. I get it. I do. You know, sometimes I see a type of TikTok and I feel like a woman. And then other days I read shit like that and I'm like, never mind. Okay? Like sometimes I'm like, wow, you guys just, you really, you know what I'm saying? Listen, as a girly who bleeds multiple times a month sometimes, like I am right now, I understand that you feel like this experience is unique to my assigned female at birthness, but truly, the worst parts of this experience are the cramps, which happens to trans women on estrogen, the feeling of fatigue, which happens to trans people. The bleeding is definitely an issue, but it's not unique to the bleeding. It first started with the cramps. Like when we have conversations about our experiences, you have to remember, like, my period isn't what makes me a woman, if I even am one, really. And then how do you account for that too? Like, when are you going to account for the reality that, like, we don't show up the same way all the time? When are we going to start getting there? Probably not for a long time. Okay. Now, let me show you this. Hold on. First, let me show you this. I got to mute it because it's copyrighted. It says, maybe I am too woke, and it shows a male bathroom going one way and then everybody else going the other. This is the part of, I understand, fighting patriarchy in a very binary sense that people forget exists. I saw this in Croatia the other day. I was at the mall and I noticed that, yeah, like the children's bathroom was uniquely separate. And I noticed that the changing room was separate. And then I noticed a male bathroom and a girl bathroom, or a male woman bathroom. And I thought to myself, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen a kid bathroom before. Guys, this Croatian stop had a kid bathroom. The stalls were small and the sinks were small and they had privacy doors. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a kid bathroom. It's not a boy bathroom or a girl bathroom. It's a separate kid bathroom. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then they had a separate family bathroom for changing tables. And I was like, oh, interesting. So it was the kind of kid bathroom where the adults could obviously see, like, not into the stalls, but the kids washing their hands, but it also had a privacy curtain. It was kind of cool. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It was like really tiny so the kids could all fit. Because gosh knows these toilets are too big for our kids. But I don't think you're too woke of a friend to notice that often changing rooms, when I was a nanny, there was no changing room in the man's bathroom. And I would get so frustrated for the fathers with their kids. And then if there was no changing rooms even in the girls' bathroom, I had to go change the babies outside on the grass or something. So, you know, we're living in a world where it is definitely layered, where there's so much to this. And even more than that, we're living in a world where sometimes I do see a TikTok and I think, oh yeah, I'm a girl. I'm a woman warrior, right? Look at this. First of all, hold on. It's censored. Look, it's literally censored. It's like, oh, we can't show this. Oh my God. This is so bad. We can't show it.
You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth. You cannot.
Okay, and it's like all these really famous like paintings and stuff of women. And Judith cutting off the head and all that stuff, right? It's so funny that this is censored. But also, it is one of those feelings that like, ooh, it's so powerful and great. Mostly, I mean, all white women, right? But then it's like, it's interesting, like the conversation, the feelings around it, the way like it can make you feel like, oh yeah, I am a woman. I love being a woman. But then the reality is like, what is it really even about? It's about the feeling of helplessness. It's about the way we're depicted in history. It's about the fact that we can feel strong in our situation of oppression. It feels like we can do something. We can fight back. We have a say in our life. We're so all looking for a say in our life. These women, Lisa and Sovereign, I know that what they want is a say in their life. I know ultimately all this biphobia, homophobia, and everything else, all of it gets down to the root of what we're missing in all of us, which is the knowledge that we know we were born free and we give ourselves golden handcuffs and we call it freedom. Like, I know that we want to feel safe and secure. We want housing and food and education for our kids. I know we're all dreaming of going back to a world that never existed, a world where we all got to grow up safe and our kids never had to struggle. But we don't live in that world, and we never have. We've always lived in a world that was full of hate and destruction and bigotry. And it's going to take a lot of work for us to get out of that. It's going to take so much work for us to do better. And it comes down to how we raise our children and how we as adults deconstruct our beliefs around socialized gender expectations. Okay, so check out this TikTok.
Old and sick and are in the hospital. So listen, if you have daughters and you get old and sick and are in the hospital, guess what? They're going to be there and they're going to take care of you. Speaking from experience, taking care of a lot of old people, it's always the daughters who are at the bedside. Now, not that the sons are never involved, don't get me wrong, but anecdotally, the daughters are generally always there and always taking notes and always the ones on top of things.
I think one of the most effective things that patriarchy has done is to convince women that caretaking, compassion is instinct, something innate in us, not taught. And I think that's a dangerous belief to hand down because it lets everyone off the hook for teaching boys the same things. In my house, caretaking isn't a mom thing. It's not a girly skill. It's scheduling, pickups, drop off, making meals, emotional check-ins, acts of kindness for each other, taking an interest even when you're not interested. And my husband and I share those rules. My boys watch that. They live it. I'm not naive enough to believe that I will break centuries of patriarchal conditioning through what I'm doing in my house. The outside world and all of its influences still exist. But I know this: softness, nurturing, showing up for people, those are learned skills, not gender traits. Girls are not born knowing how to sit with someone in pain. They're trained for it. Ask any eldest daughter. Often it's from a young age through the toys, books, games, characters marketed toward little girls. They are taught, put to work in the kitchen and in the home, praised for it, expected to do it. So boys can be trained for it too. But to me, being there for someone you love is a life skill. Just like friendship, it's a learned skill. And if I love my sons correctly, accept them authentically, give them space to grow, allow them to explore their range of humanity, they may want to be there for me. I guess time will tell. And mind you, this doctor is not wrong. I believe everything he's saying. I'm just telling you that if we do things differently with our boys, maybe we'll have a different outcome of men. Whether you're raising boys or not, what do you think about this? Let me know.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I don't believe in bioessentialism. I don't think men are just naturally this way. I think all of us are naturally the way that we are, and we can have a deeper relationship with that biological experience. And I do think, look, the experience you're having is yours. Like I say, life is like these tiny moments, and a moment can last a lifetime. My hope is that we use introspection, extrospection tools to have deeper relationships with ourselves, that we listen to each other and we trust that our communities have our back. If marginalized people who are typically on your side are telling you, hey, I love you, but this is bigoted, I would hope that you would listen. And I would hope that we would use this as an opportunity to grow as a community, because ultimately, like, we are anti-fascist, we are anti-patriarchy, we want to dismantle white supremacy and capitalism. So why the fuck aren't we listening to each other? And it's because at the end of the day, you have shit you have to work on. We all do. You know, so I just want to say that ultimately, if you are new to my work or this is your first time watching me, I do not think your gender dictates your future or your actions. Society will move you in a direction, though. You can be a person who rocks that wave, who decides to say, maybe I'll try it different, or you can be a person that complies. I don't shame you for either, because my job is not to shame you. My job is to give you a tool to say, when you're ready, and if you want, your life can look different. I have a very customized life. I have liberated myself, and now I fight to liberate my communities. I would love for you to wake up every day happy and to know your purpose, and to go to bed every day happy and know your purpose. And yes, even as I say that, have moments in your life where you experience mourning and sadness and struggle and frustration and horrifying a situation where you sit there and maybe think to yourself, man, am I living my best life? Like, am I doing the right things? And to have the tools to recenter and ground yourself in a world that's always changing and shaping around all of our insecurities. Like, the reason the world is a reflection of us as a whole is because it's so heavily dictated by us, our insecurities, our bigotry, our inability to learn. But I say this with peace and love. I cannot intellectually respect you if you give me the same bullshit script conservatives give me when I say, hey, you should question that bigoted thought. And you say, oh, I guess I'm just a bigot then. Oh, I guess I'm just a bigot then. For every dollar, if I had $1 every time a conservative told me, I'm not afraid of gay people, I just think it's wrong. The same thing I was hearing on this live stream yesterday. Oh, I love gay people. I'm not afraid of gay people. I'm not into that. It's my preference. Like, I don't believe in that. I'm tired, and you're tired. We're all tired, and we're tired of each other. I'm tired of you. And yet, after I rest, I will wake up tomorrow and I'll continue fighting for you. I just hope that you continue fighting for the gay community the way you say you are, because right now the content you're putting out is not doing that. I do not see me being fought for. I do not see my people being fought for. I do not see my children being fought for. I see all of us being thrown under the bus because you have icky feelings about gay guys, bi guys, men you don't understand, and sexual orientation that you can't even comprehend, even in the most reductive way. Bisexual means attracted to both. Gay means attracted to one. There's some nuance there, but generally, if we can't even get that under wraps, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we even having this convo? Okay? Okay. That's my thought on that. That's my whole thought. Any following thoughts? Amazing. Amazing. Just wow. Wow. Chad says, I'm struggling with the take of people choosing not to have babies that will be AMAB because they'll be future oppressors. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, obviously, if you're not going to have a baby because you think it's going to be assigned male at birth and you don't want to bring more, quote, men into existence, I think you're borderline probably certifiable, respectfully. Like, I think you have either completely reached psychosis or you are so traumatized that your bigotry is dripping. You're talking about a baby. You're talking about a literal child. Okay? So if you're actually in a bubble where you think like, I'm not going to bring a baby boy into existence because they're going to grow up to be rapists, get sterilized, respectfully. But I also think you should just go to therapy and work on it because like you're talking about a baby. You know, I've seen those people. I don't think they're typical. Yeah, Chad said exactly. It's literally eugenicism. It's literally eugenics. Bringing, you know, having that stance is just so fucking it's bioessentialism, literally. It's from people who think like all men are like inherently biologically wired a particular way, which is bullshit. It's literally not true. So yeah, I think that's really fucked up, you know? Yeah. But it is I had a woman show up in my chat one day and she was like dead serious. We talked back and forth and I was like, girly, no. She goes, Brittany, I know you don't believe me, but men are all this way. It's their nature. And I said, no, that's bioessentialist. And we went back and forth. I said, hey, with peace and love, I don't think this community is for you. She goes, fine, respectfully, I'll leave. But just so you know, I do think some people believe this. And I heard it my whole life. You have to remember growing up in the bubble I did. You ever hear your dad say, well, you know how men are. You know, men, they're naturally like this way. That's the more extreme version of this thought. So imagine you're a woman who grew up in a bubble where it's like, hey, don't wear bikinis in front of your fathers or brothers because you know how men are. Make sure you cover up in front of your male relatives. You know how men are. And then you never get the help. You never deconstruct. Of course, naturally, I think your trauma will take you to a very extreme place, right? Because, you know how much work I had to do to deconstruct this narrative? Yes, Chad, boys will be boys. Exactly. I had to deconstruct so much of that because I heard that my whole life growing up. Like, oh, your father's coming home from work. Change your pants. Why? What the fuck? You know what I mean? My sister, when she was older, she's my younger sister, but when she was older, she lived with my parents temporarily. My parents have an open door policy. We've all gone back home a couple times in our life. And she would come home for the gym in leggings. And she would be so anxious about going inside the house because she knew she was going to get lectured that she would just sit in her car until that right moment where my mom wouldn't catch her. And then she'd run into the house. Because my mom would say, it looks like you're naked. And look, I get it. Certain leggings are see-through. Certain leggings are skin tight. But living with that anxiety of like, they're leggings. Re-fucking-lax. Okay? One of my brothers, the one I don't talk to, one time we got into a big fight. Okay, this is my older brother who's a fucking pervert predator. Okay, love him unconditionally, but you know, bad person. He and I got into it really big. Like we started fighting because he was like, we were talking about rape. And he goes, well, you know, all these girls are walking around in leggings, you know? And I said, leggings? What do leggings have to do with fucking shit? And he was like, well, you know, like people are like, you know, out here like looking naked. And I'm just like, what are you saying, bro? You're saying leggings make people rape people? And I just, we got into it. Okay. Like into it. And I sat there and I was like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Okay. You lived at Abercrombie and Fitch when we were kids. You literally were that fuckboy my whole life. What are you fucking talking about? Okay. I was like, are you on something? Anyways. When you grow up with these narratives, you know what I mean? You have to remember there are going to be extreme cases. So these women who get to that extreme case, like I feel for them, but also girls go to therapy, right? Chet says exactly, God forbid we try to change the behavior of men and boys. Like, listen, like, this is what I'm saying. Like, we have to understand that all of this is conditioned, and the parts that aren't conditioned, guys, you can still figure out and have a deeper relationship with. Like, my autism isn't conditioned, but I've conditioned myself because of my autism. Like, I am autistic, period. That's biological, period. And then my relationship with how my autism shows up can be re-socialized, not in terms of masking, but actually the irony, the other part, unmasking. I have to learn to unmask all of the bullshit I learned from all of society and try to show up more authentically myself, because we think we're authentically ourselves, right? But we're not. We're sometimes authentic, and most of the time we're just trying to like fit in, say the jokes everybody else is saying. You know, we're followers and we're leaders. We're blunt, but we're not. Like, even leaders are followers. To be fair, a good teacher is still a student, right? So when we have these conversations, you're always a student, even when you're a teacher. And I think sometimes people really think like, oh, I reached teacher status, I never have to learn again. You know? Yeah. Oh, okay. Chet says bioessentialism is just a very one-on-one framing of gender. It's sort of like how we represent the solar system. It's maybe helpful point, but is also not in any way depicting reality. Exactly. That's why it's so reductive. Like, it's so like, that's why the Yvette lady who said, you guys don't even know what heterosexual means or bisexual means. Let's start there. I'm dead serious. We take for granted that people should know things. I don't. I'm so used to it with my family. I'm so used to it with everybody in my life, marginalized or not. Gay people don't even know trans history. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't know shit. Okay? So we have to assume everybody only knows what they know. I, to be fair, only know what I know. I don't know anything else. Because sometimes even my Discord takes for granted sometimes the way I literally don't know things. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know that. I'm not arguing. I literally just don't know. Because, you know, I understand why it's assumed that I would know, but I actually don't know. But I would love to learn. Can you tell me more about it? But I think because of everything we do for a living, there's just this assumption that all of us would know things. But that's the image of the online leftist educated person. That's the image of the history girly. That's the image of the psychology girly. That's the image that we put off. So just remember, that's why I try to stick in my lane and say, I don't know anything about that. And also, I love that sometimes people think I know stuff about that, because I do not. But thank you. You know, yeah, just an oxtail moment. The girl, literally. Oh. That's what I mean. How did I live my whole life without realizing oxtail was oxtail? We were eating little tails. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. Just like a little tail. Okay. Okay. Do you guys watch Cocoa Butter? It's my partner and I, our new happy place. We watch Cocoa Butter every day with each other. It's like our new meal show. I love that channel. And we watch like the oxtail ones. And I'm always like, it's a little oxtail. It's a little oxtail. But yeah, it's an oxtail. You know? But like, you go throughout your whole life, you know? Just thinking. Anyways, all right, girls. Tomorrow, great news. Speaking of oxtail, we'll be talking to vegans. 3 vegans and me. Tomorrow, Friday. I'll be here normal, 4 p.m. East Croatian time, European summer time. 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. They will be there an hour after. So we're going to have a little pre-show, some TikToks, and then we'll have our conversation tomorrow. It'll go great. You know, it'll be wonderful. P.S. though, I just need you guys to know I have been trying a 3-cheese vegan pizza lately, and I need you to know it's been delicious. Oh my God. Fresh pizza dough every day. Okay. Well, I make it and I prep it for 4 days. And then I put on a 3-cheese vegan. I noticed the vegan cheese does better at the bottom of the crust rather than the top of the ingredients. Jackfruit, spicy peppers, cayenne, garlic salt. What else? Paprika, smoked Vegeta, Just like a whole bunch of so fucking good. I just like, you dance when you eat it. It's so good. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, okay, I got vegan Parmesan for my spaghetti, and I've been really enjoying. I have a burnt spaghetti meal I eat all the time. Those are my meal preps. Okay, so good, girls. So good. I'm telling you. Okay, I'm telling you. Let's see. Okay, anything else before I head out? Yeah, Chad says that's why we call things pork and beef instead of pig and cow flesh. It helps you separate realities. It really does. It really does. It really does. It really, you know, I think about the Chick-fil-A ads all the time. I always think about watching them when I was older, and I never really thought about it. Like, eat more chicken. And why that was so funny. Because obviously the cows don't want to die. That's so dark. The cows don't want to die. So they're like, please kill and murder chickens instead. Oh my God. What? I just thought it was funny. Oh my God. What? That's crazy. For all of you who don't know what smoked Vegeta is, girls, this will change your life. This is Vegeta Spice. I didn't even know about it until I moved to Europe, which is crazy. It's so good. We have all kinds of Vegeta in our cabinets, but here's Vegeta smoked. Vegeta smoked is the best one. It's so good. Put on everything. So good. So good. Anyways. Okay. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. I will be back tomorrow. And I hope that I will see you there. Sorry, chat says, do you know the brand of vegan Parmesan? I don't. Sorry. European brand, something. Sorry, I don't know. But it's good. I just went to the big store in Croatia. I called them the big stores versus the small stores. Found all these vegan items and went ham and bought all this cheese. Like Greek-style cheese, Parmesan-style cheese. I don't know. But they've all been delicious, and I'm so glad that I get to eat them. All right. See you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye.